Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 45 of the ReelTok Podcast. I am sitting, of course, alongside my beautiful co-hosts, Seth and Tyler. Cam is absent right now, but he will join us later, hopefully.
We think.
We hope. We don't know. As always, we are going to quickly shout out all of our stuff, our merch. You guys have been fucking amazing on Twitter, tweeting us that you guys are purchasing, all of the Barbenheimer shirts, the Film Bro shirts. You're tweeting us pictures in your apparel, telling us it's a devious fit. And we really love seeing that. We really love seeing all of the support that you guys are giving us. Same thing to all of our patrons. Like we say every week, you guys, as well as all of our non-patrons, anyone that listens, you guys are the reasons we continue to do this every single week. You give us that platform to talk and just come on here and shoot our shit. But we got a good episode today. So let's get right into it. We're going to run through Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. We're going to very quickly touch on the strike. We also have a couple of trailers, and we're going to talk about the DC castings. And then we're going to wrap up our episode. We're going to do our Mission Impossible ranking. So stick around to the end of the episode for that. Should be a good one. Gentlemen, how have we been this week? Seth, you've been complaining about allergies for the last 45 minutes while we sat on this call. So how are you feeling?
Shit, man. Like, just terrible allergies. I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just, terrible. As far as the week's gone, pretty standard, I guess. Pretty good. I haven't really done too much this week, mainly some work stuff. I was ill for a couple of days, which was great. Just had a cold. But it's been a pretty nothing week for me. I've made the time. I've watched quite a lot of films this week. Obviously got the Mission Impossible films ticked off, and then went to see the new one yesterday, which obviously we'll go over, as well as our rankings, stuff like that, which I'm looking forward to. Pretty much it. Like nothing really too much to go over this week. Just allergies killing me. And there is UFC on tonight, but it's the worst card ever in the history of life, ever. So yeah, I'm not fucking watching that shit because I'm not staying up for that. But yeah, pretty standard week. Nothing too much going on. Just the usual stuff.
All right, sweet. Tyler, how about you? How's the week going?
Really nothing on my end. I'm not really sick anymore, but so I've just been kind of spending the week getting caught up on work and getting back in the TikTok grind, getting back in the gym. So kind of just, getting back on track week, but nothing really crazy. Just been pretty busy. And it's the weekend now and tired as hell right now. So today's either going to go two directions. One, I'm going to wake up a ton by the end of these podcast filmings and I'll be like ready to tackle the day. Or two, going to take a nice little fat nap when we wrap up here like 8 a.m. or something. So we'll see what the cards have in store. Right now I'm feeling a nap, but we got a long ways to go before then. So
I have a question
pretty standard
for both of you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Regarding naps. Do you have them? Do they make you feel better?
Well, one, I don't have naps. I take naps.
Okay.
Let's get that American logic out of the way.
Do you take naps, or does it make you feel better or worse after you wake up? Because I can't do it because it makes me feel so much worse after I wake up. So I just think it's pointless. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't take naps often. I love when I do, but I also hate when I do because then I don't sleep that night.
Also that.
Yeah, but no, I don't take naps all that often.
More tired. Especially if it's just like half an hour, I wake up feeling.
Yeah, I never really take naps, but like ReelTok naps are the only ones that work out for me. Just because like I usually go to bed at like 8 and then wake up at like 10 or something, right? Like after a ReelTok episode. So like it's basically then it's just like I woke up late that day, and those days are the weirdest days of a fog because when I get up at like 4:30, record ReelTok till like 8:30, and then like sleep, like go to bed and like sleep an hour until like 10:30 or something. When I wake up, I'm like, holy shit, did I just film like 3 hours of content? Like it just feels like a whole blur. I'm like, what do we even talk about? I don't even know.
Secretly, whenever Tyler turns off his camera, when he says ReelTok naps, he's actually just
exactly. I just need a quick recharge of the batteries.
He's just leaning back, eyes shut for like 5 minutes. He's like, I can't listen to this bullshit real quick.
But no, like if I'm gonna take a nap after work, like so like 5 o'clock is when like the nap starts. Then that's just like a waste of the night because like I'll wake up and it'll be like only a couple hours to like sleep time, and I'm not gonna do much. So I rarely take naps for that reason, but like sometimes with these like 4:30 a.m. wake up calls, like I need to get a couple hours in. So yeah.
What time are you going to bed if you wake up at that for 4:30?
I suck at sleep. I know everyone's like,
I
it's the most
worry about
important
that.
thing ever for your health, but like on
It is
average, I
wild.
get like 5 hours of sleep a night, and then like real talk nights aren't better. Like last night, I probably went to bed like midnight and woke up like 4:30. So yeah, I need more sleep. I need to be healthier with my sleep for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know. So my sleep schedule is like so fucked. Like I'll go a week sleeping great for like, I'll get some nice 8 hours a day for like 7 days straight. And then I'll go a week where I sleep an hour a night. Like I'm tossing, turning, just something is keeping me awake. It's horrendous. And then I try to not nap as much as possible. I went home, I don't know, it was like maybe like a month ago, or actually, no, it was like 2 months ago. And the night before I went home, I had gone out with a couple of my coworkers, old coworkers. And we spent the day on the boat. I was hot in the sun, got home, 4:30, I'm on the couch. Next thing I know, it's 11:15 p.m. and I'm waking up.
That's what the sun will do to you as well. The weather.
I woke up to like 12 missed calls from Victoria. She called my sister and my mom to make sure I was okay because I wasn't responding. I was knocked out on this couch, and then I didn't sleep the entire night.
That's funny.
Yeah. But all right, let's keep going. My week, just to continue your guys' boring week, I guess. My week was also kind of boring. Just work, been a grind lately. We're kind of getting into those summer months where like everyone wants to dial in before the end of the summer because that's when a lot of people usually take off in the industry. So it's been a little bit of a whirlwind in terms of work, but other than that, not really an eventful week. Obviously saw Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. But yeah, other than that, nothing much. So let's move on. Let's quickly touch on the trailers before we get into our Mission Impossible review, just because I think we'll kind of blow past those really quickly. We didn't touch on this last week, and we should have. Killers of the Flower Moon trailer dropped. This trailer was like to appeal to everyone, where like the first trailer felt like more of like that artistic trailer that we expect from a Scorsese film, but this one felt like it was going for mass appeal, and god damn did that trailer fucking bang, bro.
Yeah, it was really good. The only thing I would say is I loved the trailer. I think both of them have been fantastic. The only thing that was a little bit weird from that one was the music. In comparison to the
dude,
one.
I love that. That's what I'm saying. That's why this was like
get it.
It was the mass appeal trailer. Like this was trying to get people on board who would never go see like this Western type film from Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I just think I liked the kind of the more endearing, secretive, methodic kind of beat rather than the one we got. But I can definitely see why that would appeal to a more general audience, I guess.
I loved it. And that music started banging away. I was like, shit, this kind of rocks right now.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of like The Departed, like how it just had like very like popular music, I guess, like, kind of classic rock type music kind of banging throughout the trailer, like to get people hyped. But yeah, because like the first trailer, I remember being so hyped when that came out, and I would like send it to people that aren't necessarily like big movie buffs, but just like my friends. I'm like, it's Martin Scorsese, everyone's gonna love him, and like everyone's reaction was like, that looks so boring, like I'm not gonna see that. And this one's it's like, this is why you need a trailer like this, because at the end of the day, it's a Scorsese movie with the stacked cast, so like they're gonna have to make that budget back, so that to appeal to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And then God, I just want to touch on it. As much as I love these trailers, same thing with the Napoleon trailer, Dune, Oppenheimer. We got to relax these 5-minute trailers or 3-minute trailers. Like I tweeted about it the other day, and I was like, it's just too much. Like I know, like especially for like something as like Tyler said, no one's just gonna go see like a Western Martin Scorsese Killers of the Flower Moon movie. So you need to appeal to the mass public and just give as much content as possible to like show that like this is gonna be good, but like. God, they showed so much in that trailer.
Yeah, like obviously with all these trailers that are super long, like they obviously have a ton still up their sleeves and stuff, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just so much that kind of wanted to see.
It's a lot. Which, like, again, I loved all these trailers, but let's like relax these 3-minute trailers. Seth is probably most anticipated movie for the remainder of the year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it is now. It was like 2 and 1 of Killers of the Flower Moon, but I think this is
okay.
One now. If you're talking about Napoleon,
I am talking about Napoleon. So we got the new Napoleon trailer starring Joaquin Phoenix. This is, of course, Ridley Scott. Seth, go for it.
Yeah. So I've been just eagerly anticipating this ever since we got the initial kind of release news and whatever. I think this just it looks incredible. It looks like a huge, like just an epic on a massive scale. The set pieces look incredible. The world, the production, it looks very, very high scale, and we know that Ridley Scott, it is good at that, dependent on whether you liked some of his previous films, like The Last Duel, House of Gucci. Obviously, The Last Duel was quite similar in regards to the production, but I think this is going to be such a huge story on a big scale. I think Joaquin Phoenix is just a perfect casting for the role. And I think it's really going to be intriguing to show the different aspects of Napoleon's life. The romantic aspects, the I guess empowerment,
the tyrant aspects.
The tyrant aspects, yeah, the obnoxious nature.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really interesting. And I think I was actually quite surprised about the runtime. This I actually anticipated this being longer, because I think Napoleon is such a story that has so much to it in terms of his life and where they go with this. So I'll be intrigued to see what kind of things he includes and what kind of things he misses out. I think
what's the runtime?
235, I think, which isn't short.
Okay. That's still, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I anticipated, because obviously we've had previous Napoleon projects before. I think there was a mini series came out in, well, not mini series, it's like a film of parts. It came out in like
1927. There's a 5.5 hour short film.
Yeah. Final shot for
5.5 hour short film.
Not short film. Sorry, silent film. 5.5.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that's
yeah. People's attention spans were built different 100 years ago before technology ruined it.
I was like,
1.5 hours? That's low.
I was like, what's a fucking feature length film? Running at 10 hours right now.
So I haven't seen that. I have no idea. And I did speak to my dad about it once this got kind of revealed, and he says that so much is touched on in that. And I kind of thought it would be similar. But I'm just incredibly excited. I think the trailer looks fantastic. I really, really do. I think the set pieces just look incredible. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. I think this is probably the number one now for me, closely followed by Kills of the Flower Moon and probably now Dune Part 2. But yeah, very, very excited. I'm just absolutely giddy thinking about it, and I think it's going to be hopefully incredible. Anyway, because this is what Ridley Scott excels in, is these productions, these mass scale historic epics, as we've seen previously.
I still haven't seen The Last Duel.
Have you not? It's interesting.
I know. I have no reason, I love Ridley. I love the cast. I have no reason not to. It's just like one of those films, like every time I go to turn it on, I'm like, I'm just not in the mood for like how much this movie is going to need me to pay attention right now.
Yeah. I watched it. Me and Anna watched it like not long ago. I think I watched it on around end of December. I think we watched it. I liked The Last Duel. I think it excels in its production and its narrative. I found it a little bit bizarre, but I think I give it like a 3.5. I liked it, and I think it was fun. It was a great production, but I think there is parts I didn't like. I'd be intrigued to see what you think of it, actually, because I know people that love it. Some people actually think it's one of Ridley's best. I don't really liked it, for example.
I think Sydney had it in like her top 3 of that year. I think she thinks very highly of that movie.
I think it's very much
a lot of people do.
A female empowerment film, which is important when it comes to a historical epic, because you don't get that often.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing for me in that film is the casting, man. I don't know. It was just like,
every time I see Ben Affleck, I'm like, come on.
Ben Affleck, it's Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver. Adam Driver's actually kind of like, he's cool because he kind of works in that realm.
Yeah.
But it seemed that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck with like these like dyed hair and the wig and the old school. It just kind of pushed me the wrong way. But obviously Jodie Comer was in that, who is fantastic. But yeah, I'd be keen to see what you're going to think of that, because it is.
Yeah, I need to get her. Honestly, maybe tonight. Now that we're mentioning it, I got nothing else to watch tonight, so maybe tonight. All right, moving on. We also got our highly anticipated Wonka trailer, which obviously stars Timothée Chalamet in the title role, following Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp as the titular character. Tyler, do you want to run through a couple of Wonka thoughts?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting because this is like a trailer that I watched and then like tweeted my reaction to it before I saw what like the general consensus was. And I just absolutely loved it. And then I saw like everyone seems to unanimously hate it. And I like didn't see that at all before I was posting, but I was like, damn, I really liked it. I thought it was fun and quirky. Like, I'm a little conflicted because everyone's like, Gene Wilder's like Johnny Depp was way more like cynical, and same with Johnny Depp or Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka, and then same with Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka. But like this is a different aged Willy Wonka. Like, we're seeing kind of the beginning of him, And either one of two things I think is going to happen. Either of them are both perfectly understandable to me. One, it's by Paul King, I believe the director of like the Paddington movies. So like not going to be the craziest, most cynical movie. Or B, this is going to be kind of like the Barbie movie where, you know, the first trailer came out and you're like, oh, this is going to be super fun and lighthearted. But then you realize it's probably going to be a lot more darker with quite a bit of like undertones and narrative about like how like it's just not going to be basically all light and fluffy like you thought on first glance. And I feel like that this movie is going to kind of be about like Willy Wonka starting with like a man with a dream and like an ambition of being like the chocolate guy. And then by the end, like he starts to slowly devolve, which I think Timothée Chalamet would absolutely kill, like going from someone who's so happy-go-lucky to going to someone who's like starts to be a little mad or a little power hungry. And I think if they go that route, it'll be incredible. But regardless, like it's just, I don't know. When you come to stuff like this, you just can't compare everyone. Like obviously, I think Gene Wilder was way better than Johnny Depp, and I think Timothée Chalamet is a great actor too, and it's going to be a very different performance than both Johnny Depp and Gene Wilder. So I guess a lot of people don't think this looks good. To me, I thought it looked super fun. I really think the production design looks a lot of fun on this one. And we'll see. I get why people watched it and maybe got a little upset. But for me, I don't know. I was really excited. And I was like kind of shocked, I guess, when I saw it. And like the weird thing is, I just forget like how like online the film Twitter community is, because so many people are like, wow, Timothée Chalamet like really can't play this like lighthearted, whimsical guy. I'm like, everything I've ever seen of the dude makes me think like he's always a lighthearted, whimsical guy in his real life. Like just a little quirky little theater kid energy. So like I guess like it's like makes sense because like we've all seen like the clips from his high school plays and stuff where he's just an absolute goober. But I guess the general public's like, this guy from Dune, like he can't play a funny role or like a whimsical role. I'm like, you clearly haven't seen some clips of this man. This man's a silly little boy. Like he's a funny man.
I saw so many, and obviously Timmy, one of my favorite working actors of like this new generation, and I'm very excited to see him in this role. But after the trailer came out, I saw so many like fan casts for Jeremy Allen White to play Wonka, and I just locked. I was like, that would have been unbelievable. And then I think you guys know this, but I've never seen the Gene Wilder movies.
Wow,
like,
you haven't seen the original?
No.
Oh man,
I haven't.
That's why every time you guys post your goddamn polls of like Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp, I gotta fucking pick Johnny Depp like an asshole, and it's always at like 4%. I'm like, fuck. That's
like one of my favorite performances ever. I think that's a magical film. I think it's amazing.
I've been meaning to rewatch because I watched it a ton as a kid. Same with both of them. Honestly, I haven't seen since I was a kid, but I watched them a ton as a kid. But I kind of want to rewatch both.
Yeah, I
definitely want to rewatch both. For
sure. The Gene Wilder one is called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Factory.
Willy
Wonka and Charlie, the other one.
Okay.
That one.
Yeah, I need to watch that. Moving on, we have our last trailer. Perfect time. Cam has joined us. Cam,
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I went off the. Well, yeah, I was up till 2 a.m. trying to watch that stupid ass movie.
Whoa, that movie was not that good, but it was okay.
Well, yeah, and then I went off the child alarm this morning, who hasn't gotten up past 7 in the past 2 years. He's only been alive for a year. Hasn't gotten up past 7 ever. He's still sleeping till 9 a.m. So I'm just the worst. My bad.
You're fine.
Mission Impossible is great.
No, we haven't done Mission Impossible.
Oh, really? Okay,
no. We started with the trailers.
Perfect. Thanks.
Talk about the Ahsoka trailer. I'm assuming you're excited for that.
Hell yeah, it looks awesome. It is funny because like I do see online like a whole lot of comments that are like, how the hell are you gonna get a general audience member to watch this? Very true. Like sorry, I just caught a bug, feeling pretty high. Yeah, it's very much because it's also like Rebels season 5. So if you haven't watched Rebels, you probably won't be as they got to make it somehow like a Rebels season 5 almost. But also its own thing so that you can get a general audience member. Like I don't think any of you guys are want to watch it. George, you might, right? You watch Rebel.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew you were a Rebels guy. That's my bad. But yeah, I think it looks really good, and I really trust Dave Filoni. I feel like there's Dave Filoni's kind of one of those guys who've just gotten like flipped on. Like he did obviously the Clone Wars and Rebels, and then like Clone Wars season 7, everyone loved him. Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, I feel like everyone loved him, and now like after Mandalorian season 3, people are just like off on Dave Filoni, or at least on like Star Wars Twitter that I'm on. I still trust him with my life, basically, at this point with Star Wars characters. So, and he like had like full control because he did create the Ahsoka character, so he's very invested in her. So I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't know. I feel like just the title Star Wars is gonna just attract like general audience members. Like I don't think like someone seeing Ahsoka is gonna like hurt viewership, I guess, because she's like obviously she's no Luke or Darth Vader, even though if you've watched the Clone Wars, you know that in my mind Ahsoka is like
way better. So much.
She's like a top 5 or 3 written character in all of Star Wars.
She's number 1.
Yeah, like she's
so much
up
better
there as one of the best characters in Star Wars.
I'm so much with you.
But unfortunately, a lot of people just that like Ahsoka doesn't attract people. It's Star Wars, so it's like how much are people really going to want to watch this Ahsoka show just because it's like related to Star Wars? Because I don't think a lot of the general public has just seen the Clone Wars animated series, really.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll move on. Let's go to our Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. This is maybe not for us 4, but this got to be one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Obviously, coming off of Fallout, which I think all of us agree is one of the best action movies of the last 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe ever.
Maybe ever.
Maybe ever. It's no John Wick Chapter 4, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Let's chill.
So yeah, we're back into the Mission Impossible franchise. Tom Cruise is doing ridiculous stunts. We were introduced to new characters. Let's start with just overall thoughts. We'll do what we usually do, just quick overall thoughts, and then we'll move into our spoilery section. I don't really have like specific plot points that I want to touch on when we get to spoilers. Obviously,
there's some big ones we got to discuss.
Yeah, there's one big one I think we'd love to touch on, but other than that, really, not enough. Tyler, sorry, Seth, I think you were the lowest on it, right? You gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, I think I was lowest on it.
All right, let's start with you.
Yeah, so obviously I kind of went through most of them this week. Well, the last 2 weeks, I'd only seen the first 2 previously. So I think it delivered on the expected fronts. I believe I said this in my review. I think just set pieces were ambitious, the cast is charismatic, and I did bring in some new interesting characters into the franchise, and of course Tom Cruise. I often feel guilty for how much I love Tom Cruise because I just think he's just so good. I think Tom Cruise is just an incredible actor and just a charismatic performer who I can't wait to watch on screen. I think this film, we're going to spoilers obviously, I think this film made some interesting choices, and I also think, I can't remember if the cinematographer was the same, I also think this was a significant step down in camera work in this one as well. I think some of the set pieces to me were really bizarrely shot. There was like an overuse of Dutch angles, which kind of annoyed me, especially in that scene when they're kind of in the club. I won't say anything yet, but we'll go over that in the future. But I think some of the camera for me was kind of off, and it was erratic and kind of weird, which is not something I expected. And maybe that's because I set my expectations too high, having literally watched Fallout like 2 days previous. Going from that to this, and I think we will go on to rankings, but I also think the one before Fallout, Road Nation, is also incredible. So it's a case of maybe setting my expectations too high to let me down slightly. But I do think the film itself it was definitely a worthwhile watch because it delivers on its ambitious front. It's exhilarating, it's energetic. I definitely much preferred the first half and the second, because I did think there was some interesting narrative points introduced, which I wasn't that much of a fan of. But again, we'll go over that in spoilers. But nothing really blew me away. Again, this isn't a spoiler because everyone knew this was going to be in the film, where he rides the bike off the cliff, whatever. So even like something like that, nothing really blew me away. Like I feel like in the previous films, at least one thing kind of has. But again, that might be down to my expectations. I just think the main thing in this was the overuse of exposition can be obtrusive at points, especially during the middle. And yeah, the camera work, I don't know, man. I'm actually gonna I'll check when I've stopped speaking. I don't know if this was a different cinematographer or something, but it felt off to me. It felt generic, which isn't something I expect from Mission Impossible film because they're, they are really great action films, especially the previous ones. Okay, this was a different a different cinematographer. However, George, interestingly enough, this guy has done cinematography for John Wick 2.
Oh,
that is interesting. Yeah. So yeah,
I will say, I think stylistically, I think John Wick 2 is the weakest of the franchise.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think John Wick 2 for me is easily the weakest.
That's the only John Wick movie where, like, I still think it looks cool and the action set pieces are cool, but like you watch Parabellum or Chapter 4 and you're like blown away by like the neon aesthetic. Chapter 2 is the only one where I was like, this just feels like a very like generic action movie in terms of like how it's styled.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And also, you're coming off like Fallout, the plane scene where him and Henry Cavill jump out, and like the way that entire sequence is shot is just so fucking cool.
Yeah, like I think this is the issue, isn't it? It's like, especially when you're in a franchise, when they are at such a height with Fallout, you will go into it with these
absurd expectations.
Yeah, absurd expectations, which is going to be inevitable. So potentially, I am looking at this film too harshly. I do just think there was a step down in it, for me anyway. And it's interesting enough, George. I'm just obviously I'll let you guys go to this, but the guy who did the cinematography for Fallout also did the cinematography for Alex Garland's films, Ex Machina, Annihilation, stuff like that.
Those are gorgeous films.
Well, there you go, especially Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Did you give Men?
A step down in that way. I give it a 3.5. I'm not going to say where it lands, and none of us should say where it lands.
Yes, we'll save that. We'll save that for the end of the episode.
But yeah, good film. I enjoyed it. Just was a slight letdown to what
Yeah.
I've experienced from the previous two, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Overall, from what I've seen from my mutuals, I feel like that's like the general consensus. Still very good movie, but it's definitely no Fallout. Tyler, 4 out of 5?
Yep.
4 out of 5?
Give it 4 out of 5. And I will say, like, I wouldn't say it's like completely the consensus, because I've seen a lot of people that like put this as like their top though. So like I've seen a lot of people that really loved it. So yeah, I liked it a lot. Haley Atwell is definitely my favorite addition to this series since Rebecca Ferguson, who's like the top for me. So she's like comes in at number 2, which is like, you know, saying a lot, because this franchise consistently has added, you know, A-list, B-list actors and actresses every single time. I will say this is the first time in the entire franchise where I felt like the cast got expanded so much, where I didn't feel like they all had the proper amount of time to breathe. So like Pom Clementif was also an addition who was great, but I feel like she didn't.
I really liked her.
I really liked her too. I didn't think she got nearly enough, like compared to like Haley Atwell. And then I feel like Simon Pegg, like some people who are like typically in the franchise, like really had to take a back seat in this one just because we got so many new people added. So the cast definitely expanded a ton. I really liked all the new additions. I just think it spread a little thin. The action set pieces were crazy. I feel like this movie's kind of a two-parter in itself in terms of the first half is a lot of exposition, a lot of, you know, background spy work, and the second half is pretty much nonstop action, because that bike jump scene really just kicks off the beginning of like a 30-minute action sequence with like the train chase and stuff. I think just going into it, so a lot of people I saw before I even saw the movie were like saying, oh, the exposition can be annoying. There's too much of it. Like, explain the AIs a lot. So I think just going into it, I already was expecting to see a lot of it. So then when I actually watched the movie, I was just like, that wasn't that bad. I didn't think they were really spoon feeding it too horribly. But again, I think I was just set up for it being way worse than it actually ended up being, or being way too much than it actually ended up being. I thought the hand-to-hand combat, even though I love the Henry Cavill fight in Fallout, I think the hand-to-hand combat in this was really, really good. I thought the musical score was super good. I can agree with some issues with the cinematography, but I thought the music was amazing in this. I thought just the final act was completely breathtaking. But yeah, I think Tom Cruise is the greatest action star to ever live. He was incredible in this. My favorite thing about him by far is that he just learns new stuff for every movie, no matter what. In this movie, he clearly, you know, when Fallout came out, he clearly went like, he's like, I have to decompress. I'm on set for Top Gun Maverick. I'm going to watch some YouTube videos, chill out. He saw some dudes doing sleight of hand magic on his YouTube feed, and he's like, that's it. That's the skill I'm mastering for Dead Reckoning Part 1. I am now going to learn magic in my free time. And just unnecessarily, but it was so unnecessary every time in the movie, but I loved it every time. I didn't care. Where he's just like flicking stuff back and forth with his hands. And like, I'm like, it's just so funny because like stuff like the movie, the Now You See Me movies, like obviously I'll do all that with CGI, but you know Tom Cruise trained in his trailer on set of Top Gun Maverick, just like freaking Glenn Powell and Miles Teller banging on his door, like, dude, come on, we got to go fly some jets. He's like, I almost got this like 52 card shuffle like master, guys. Just like, hold on. But yeah, he's incredible. I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, I 4-star. Really liked it. I will say, like, I like Across the Spider-Verse more than this movie for sure, but this definitely felt more complete as a one-parter than Across the Spider-Verse, because I feel you could watch this. Yeah. Like, if this is your favorite Mission Impossible movie, which it is for a lot of people, and then say when the franchise is all said and done, you can definitely go back and watch this without like immediately being like, okay, I need to jump into part 2 now. Like, you can watch this as a complete narrative and feel like you were satisfied. Whereas Across the Spider-Verse you can watch on its own, but I feel like immediately you'd be like, okay, now I need to see Beyond the Spider-Verse to finish this off.
I think Tom Cruise actually said, or at least I saw in an interview where he said that because it is a one-parter, he doesn't want to leave people with too much anticipation for the next film and wants a good closed ending where they can watch it as just a one film rather than just thinking about the next one.
I was going to say I prefer Across the Spider-Verse kind of to this, like the ending to this. That makes me feel more like it's a part 1, part 2 versus this, where it feels like it's just another like movie. Like they leave a couple things open-ended, but this kind of feels more like a movie that they just slapped on a part 1 title to, in my opinion.
I think it's just because it's going to be the same villain in the part 2. It's still going to be the AI.
Yeah, I think the use of part 1, part 2 kind of gets thrown around a lot as like, hey, they're just going to be like the same general plot, so we're going to make a part 1, part 2. And then to me, it feels like Across the Spider-Verse, even though I guess it didn't use the part 1, part 2. That to me feels more like what I would think like a part 1 would feel like, which it originally was. But maybe they both flipped on how they should have used it. Is it my turn for a review? I had to.
Let's keep it in order of stars, because I think you gave it 4.5.
I missed a couple things, so sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I'm pretty much like aligned with Tyler at my 4 out of 5 star rating. I think this movie has like some of the best like Mission Impossible moments. Like I think the entire like club sequence to the bridge fight sequence is just, it was captivating at that point in the movie. I was like, if like this movie continues with this type of style choices and like these just really engaging action sequences, like it might be my highest ranked Mission Impossible movie. And then even like the entire final train sequence from the point Tom Cruise jumps off that cliff of the motorcycle and then to the end of the movie. I just thought that entire set piece was just fucking mesmerizing. Narratively, I think this is one of the weaker Mission Impossible movies. This isn't really like spoilers. It's like the plot of the movie, but like, I don't know. It felt very like boring and bland to me. Like, oh, this key unlocks what? Let's get this key, blah, blah, blah. Like they didn't care too much about the story because they were obviously focusing significantly more on like the action set pieces and like giving us like a true movie theater experience, which granted all Mission Impossible movies have, but I don't know. In Fallout, I thought that was the strongest Mission Impossible movie narratively, and I think it works really well just because of like how locked in I was to the characters. Like a lot of the new characters just kind of felt there, especially like Shea Wiggum and Greg Tarzan Davis as like the 2 new like FBI agents or whatever they played. But yeah, I think as a spectacle, it's a Mission Impossible movie, so we kind of know exactly what we're getting into, and I think it holds up that end of the bargain. Like I said, it's got some of like the best moments in Mission Impossible movies in my humble opinion. But narratively speaking, I think this is one of the weaker Mission Impossible movies. So it makes my ranking very difficult to know. But yeah, I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm still really excited for part 2. I think they gave us all the right ingredients to make sure that I am still excited for part 2 after this movie. So yeah, I landed at a 4 out of 5. You'll see, stick around to the end of our episode. That's when we will give our rankings, but you'll see where it kind of stacks up against the remainder of the Mission Impossible movies. Cam, you were the highest of all of us. You gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Give us your thoughts. You're on mute.
Yeah, I am. Very epic. I gave this an 88 out of 100. Really enjoyed it. Really loved it. My biggest knock on the movie is couldn't give less of a fuck about Shea Wiggum or Greg Tarzan Davis characters. They just threw them in to add them into the chase, and I did not.
I thought Shea Wiggum was hilarious though.
Oh, he was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought he had some just funny fucking moments.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Just like every scene though that he was in, it just felt so unnecessary. Yeah. And that also equates to this being a 2 hour and 46-minute movie, and then me going and seeing it at about 9:45, 10 o'clock. So I'm not getting home till 1 a.m. entire time. Every scene, like towards like after the first hour, every scene I'm like, all right, I don't care. Get this guy off my screen. And you would think that'd make me hold this movie lower. But the fact that like who goes to bed at normally like 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. on weekdays, like I was just locked into this movie the entire time because the action was so awesome. And just fucking Tom Cruise, I swear to God, is not a person. He's an alien and he's an AI, and he seems like this weirdo off screen. It's so goddamn good in these movies. Like I swear he is just a person trying to convince every single person on this earth that he's not weird, and he is. He's mega weird. But
he is super weird.
But he is so good in these movies. Like he's so weird, but he can act his ass off in these. Haley Atwell, one of the best additions to this franchise we've ever gotten. I absolutely adored her. I can't believe it took me this long to figure out I was absolutely in love with her. But yeah, she was so good in this. I like Vanessa Kirby's character. I think she was fine in here. Rebecca Ferguson, I think like Alex Coleman loves her. I think she's fine in this. And I enjoyed her again. So Tyler, make note of time so I can ask this question. Did we know the AI was the villain, or was that a spoiler?
No, I think that was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
Okay, so this movie uses AI as a villain, and I think this is the least dumb way to use AI. I think AI is a fairly stupid villain for the most part. This was a good use of it, I think, as like just a predictive model. That's okay. So something broke. Okay, great. But just as a predictive model that like a human is using, here you go. A human is using just to like be like a better villain. I liked that, I enjoyed that, where the AI is still the villain, but it's always a human that's interacting with it, and they're like using this plot to move it along. I enjoyed that a lot.
I don't know. Do we want to get the spoilers? Are we wrapped up with like just
those are my talk? Oh, before spoilers, real quick, I put this TV in, and I was hoping like I could always like. Oh, I also put that dartboard in, but I put this TV in, and I was hoping in the background I could always have like the movie poster. Clearly, that is unfortunately not the case because it's too high. So that's kind of a bummer to see. I never like saw it on screen, but yeah.
Tragic. Next time. All right, let's jump into spoilers. So as usual, if you have not seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, skip ahead, I'd say 20, maybe 25 minutes. We'll have timestamps below as per usual, but that is your fair spoiler warning. Please leave because I'm about to drop a massive spoiler. 3, 2, 1. Obviously, we had the death of Ilsa, Rebecca Ferguson's character. Tyler and I were talking after the movie. I don't buy it. I don't buy that she's dead.
All right. So my friend, so not necessarily that I don't buy it, but my friend texted me like right after, and he was pissed it happened. He felt like it was like a mega disservice to her character. I didn't really care for it, and he felt like it didn't really like matter in the plot, which I think it did. Clearly, but it more so meant that like Haley Atwell's character survives, and that was kind of what the plot mattered. But I will say I don't like that 20 minutes before this they faked her death, and then brought her back and then killed her. So that just like kind of, I didn't really care for that. Like I feel like you could have just killed her the first time if you're gonna kill her 45 minutes later.
There have also just been so many instances in like the Mission Impossible franchise.
I don't think that's true. I don't think
just where someone takes off a face and like they're not really dead.
That's fair.
I like the mask stuff though.
I love the mask.
I feel that has it not been overused like crazy?
Well, no, I really like it.
Like that's their thing.
That's the thing.
Like that's like Mission Impossible's thing is the
yeah.
mask. But I will say I don't think this is not a franchise that has an on-screen death and then fakes it for like this is not a Fast X where Gal Gadot falls off a plane and then is brought back 3 movies later. Like I don't think they're going to bring her back. I'm on the side. I don't think.
Yeah, Tyler also brought up a good point that like Rebecca Ferguson is now being cast in like so many big IPs like Dune that maybe it was her time to like let go of Mission Impossible, and then obviously the introduction of Haley Atwell's character is like there's your replacement.
Passing along something.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't, I'm actually on Cam's side. I don't think they'll bring it back. I don't think there's sort of franchise to do that. But I do think the death itself was, and this is kind of what I was leading to earlier when I said I didn't like the narrative one. I think it was very anticlimactic, to be honest. I think the way they kind of pulled her out, and especially what Cam said, where they faked the death and then brought her back, or not brought her back, but or revealed she was alive, I guess, which was kind of obvious anyway, and then kind of killed her off an hour later or whatever. I think it was, I do actually think it was a disservice to a character because I don't. Cam just thinks she was fine. I actually really, really like Rebecca Ferguson in these films, or Rogue Nation especially. I think she's great. And I don't know, man. It's kind of a weird one. I didn't like the idea. I definitely know why they've done it because again, like George said, it is like the passing of the torch almost to the side character, I guess, with Haley Atwell's character, who, by the way, I also have fell in love with.
Yeah.
I mean, who hasn't?
Well, I don't know, man. This just came out of nowhere for me. I was like, I don't
know if this is a hot take, but I already think Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise had like better overall chemistry than Tom Cruise and Rebecca Ferguson ever did.
I think that was the best.
Rebecca Ferguson is an actor, so like that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I guess.
I just never loved Rebecca Ferguson's character, and I love Rogue Nation. Like I absolutely adore it.
Don't give away.
I kind of do like her character because her character has always just like hovered this fine line of like, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is she here for personal gain? She's like morally conflicted, which I like because obviously she's like.
It's the same as Haley Atwell, though, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, they're both like the antithesis of like Ethan Hunt. Like Ethan Hunt is there as just like he's gonna do whatever he thinks is like good for the situation, where like Rebecca Ferguson's character and Haley Atwell character are always just thinking about themselves, but they know morally they should be more like Ethan. So I don't know. I've always loved that character of also just being like the opposite of Ethan Hunt.
Yeah. When it happened, it clearly was the like big death, but when it happened, I was just like, all right, cool.
I don't know. Everyone.
I
liked her.
Yeah,
I thought it was so like. Epic,
and I think that's probably why you like didn't like this movie. I mean, 3.5 versus 4.5, you were never going to get there. But like maybe that's what the difference between a 3.5 and a 4 is for you. Whereas me, who I didn't like necessarily need the death, but if the death really impacted you, maybe it could have been the 4. You know,
I don't think you were here when I said my review. One of my biggest issues was the camera work a lot of the time.
I heard that, the Dutch angles, and I agree with you completely.
It kind of annoys me.
But I think it's because I just learned what a Dutch angle was like 2 days ago. Like,
you watch Marvel all the time. Like
that's why I don't need to worry about camera angles, because if I become this director, I'm going to start hating movies I love. I never need to know about any camera work, but I learned about that like 2 days ago from Twitter, or not 2 days ago, but 2 days before seeing this movie, and I was like, man, I hate that I just learned about this.
You'll look for it now. I guarantee you'll look for it.
Same thing with split diopter. Once people tell you what
I learned about that on Twitter the other day. Yeah.
I love a split.
This is the first.
I do know what you mean, Cam. I think it would be if Rebecca Ferguson's character had been, because I really like her, if she'd been dealt with a little bit, I guess. What I would have preferred her to go out if she had to die. I think I would have probably raised the movie a little higher because I do like Rebecca Ferguson. Sorry, I'm just watching Cam's camera right now.
Cam's camera falling right now.
Sorry, it's not like
I was just gonna say one of the explanations for the camera work is this is the first movie of the entire franchise that's digital. The rest were all film. So yeah. So
which I really liked at the start. It was very Brian De Palma, like Mission Impossible 1. You know, for that first hour, especially that scene. The smoke where he goes in and gasses all of them, and then he's speaking to, I can't remember what his name is, but I really liked it there. I just think it kind of wore on. I ended up not liking it the further it went on, if that makes sense, because of some of the sequences. But I will say, George, what was the sequence you said? The bridge sequence and the sequence before, you know, where he's fighting.
The whole sequence leading up to Ilsa's death. Like I thought that was like awesome. Like Ethan running through like running through the streets, being guided by like the wrong AI.
The fight inside the alleyway or whatever.
Yeah, the fight inside the alleyway while Rebecca Ferguson's character is in the fight on the bridge. Like I thought that was like really cool.
I didn't love the club scenes just before that, but I really liked the bridge and the alleyway fight sequence. I think the alleyway fight sequence is actually really good. I really enjoyed that bit.
It's so, I don't know. I think I did myself a disservice not having seen Mission Impossible earlier, because now you guys know how highly I hold John Wick. I think stylistically, they're the best action movies. I think in terms of storytelling, they're the best action movies. I think in terms of fight choreography and hand-to-hand combat, they're the best action movies. So
hand-to-hand combat, I agree.
Cam's shaking his head.
I don't know. Tom. I think hand-to-hand combat.
Hand-to-hand combat, maybe, yeah, that's probably fair. But I think Fallout is so much higher, and maybe not so much higher, but I think Fallout is leaps and bounds better than
I disagree.
John Wick 4.
I disagree, but no.
Yeah. I think
the thing I'm getting at is like, I mean, okay, regardless, like the John Wick movies are stylistically.
Does he have some AI camera that's moving on? No, it's just like drifts that way.
It's like one of those cameras that you have, Tyler, that follows.
Is that really?
My camera, like it moves with me, and so I'm trying to like get my son to stop holding sharp objects. He's picking up sharp objects, and I'm trying to grab them from him, and it's just like pan over.
But yeah, like
it's a one shot.
As cool as like the John Wick, as cool as the Mission Impossible movies are, I think I did myself a massive disservice because like I hold John Wick so highly, it's unbelievable. But yeah, what other massive like plot points or like spoiler things do we want to talk about?
Sorry if anyone else had anything.
Go for it.
Not a spoiler at all, but maybe it's because I wasn't in the movie world as much when like Fallout came out. Like I loved movies, obviously, but I wasn't like on Twitter every day trying to tweet the latest movie news, you know. But they just used that motorcycle jump so much prior to this movie, where the Halo jump from Fallout or the plane, like riding on the plane wouldn't have been something I was involved in, because what was that, like 2014 or something, or way back before I would have been like super into movie Twitter. But they just used it so much, and I feel like behind the scenes looks at something like that should not come out before the movie. Like it should come out
like the platform and stuff.
The trailer,
see it.
Exactly. The trailer is awesome. Like you see it, jumps off, and then the trailer cuts. Awesome. You
don't need behind
the
scenes.
Really cool. Yeah, the behind the scenes I feel like should come out now. Like this movie came out on a Monday. It should come out on the Saturday after the movie comes out. You've gotten the hype of the people who are clearly gonna go see this thing, but I'm trying to think, like you're trying to build more hype for people who haven't seen it, I guess. And so like you're like, look at this
big moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that was a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like I wanted to be there and be like, holy shit, he just jumped a bike off a mountain. But it was cool, but not the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It was cool, but it wasn't like in every Mission Impossible film. I said this like earlier. We've had something that was like breathtaking. And this would have been breathtaking if it wasn't that I saw a million behind the scenes shots and everything beforehand. So yeah, I definitely agree with Cam. I think it could have been done a lot better, I guess.
One thing, and I don't know if maybe this is me, maybe like my time perception is off, but like the entire sequence leading up to that jump, I felt like Ethan Hunt wasn't in the movie.
What led up to the jump?
While he was on his motorcycle driving and Simon Pegg's character is like telling him where to go, we were focused on the train so much, and there was a point where I was like, damn, I was like, Ethan Hunt is really taking a back seat for like this good half hour right now, while everything on the train like starts to unfold for him to get there.
I agree with that, but I kind of liked it.
No, I didn't mind it. It just like in the moment, it like caught me very off guard. Like we just kept cutting back to him very briefly, trying to figure out where to go, and then we got back to the train for like 10 minutes straight without Ethan Hunt, and I was like, it was more interesting to me because like I'm surprised Tom Cruise was okay with that.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way though too, because I remember Because like basically it starts like he grabs the bike and you're like, oh shit, here we go. Like we all know where this is going. But it took way longer to get there than I initially thought. Because like you said, it cut back and forth so much. But not necessarily that I didn't like that or anything. But it was interesting for sure. But I don't know. The big thing for me I just really like is Dead Reckoning Part 1 took risks. You know, they killed off characters. Will they stay that way? We'll see. You know, Jeremy Renner wasn't killed off, but it's been 2 movies since he came back, and based on his injury, I doubt they'll ever come back. So this franchise has shown in the past they're willing to take a big name actor and just let them kind of go by the wayside in their franchise. Whereas, you know, like the Fast franchise, even after Paul Walker's death, like still throws him into some, like I think even in the Fast X, I think you might have saw a little bit of him or something, just a glimpse, like a flashback, and then like John Wick, like obviously like. It was like a flashback. It wasn't like a new.
It was
clip
a flashback. It was a flashback.
I'm pretty sure for sure he's in it, but so like, whereas like John Wick, you know, like obviously everyone knows like spoilers for John Wick 4. Skip forward 15 seconds if you still haven't seen that. All right, you've been warned. Obviously, he dies at the end of that. I'll be very upset if they make a John Wick 5 with him back in it, because that's just like for me like a franchise that's not taking risks. And I appreciate that they took risks here, because like Rebecca Ferguson, Cam, I know you aren't super high on her, but like she's very beloved in these franchises. So like killing her off is definitely a bold play by them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So we'll see if she stays that way. I feel like since they did the fake out and then showed her death and then had such a long like view of her, I feel like to me that's going to be something that killed off. And like I said, with how Jeremy Renner's been not killed off, but effectively killed off for 2 movies and hasn't come back, because obviously like they were filming this before like his injury would have happened. So like that wasn't the reason he wasn't in this. So I feel like they're willing to let things die, especially because these franchises are so popular that they're able to just always get new people in it. Whereas like, you know, John Wick, like, yeah, sure, it has like Donnie Yen and stuff like that, but they don't have like just new A-listers every John Wick movie. Whereas Mission Impossible, I feel like Tom Cruise can just take like the Scientology heads and be like, these 3 people contact their agents and get them in the next movie. I'm not taking no for an answer. And then boom, Haley Atwell is now the lead girl of the franchise. So I don't know. I really enjoyed this. I definitely didn't love it as much as the other ones, but we'll get into the rankings later. In terms of the John Wick 4 or John Wick versus this conversation, for me, it's just like John Wick, the movie just got a little bland for me, because like they expand the lore every time, but like the movies are all the same. It's all just like Keanu Reeves, you know, running through and kind of just having unlimited plot armor, which this is the same. This is unlimited plot armor for Ethan Hunt. But he does like, it's like, it's a different kind of thing. Like John Wick survives by like taking falls and getting shot a million times, which for me personally, like the way I've watched film, like for me, that takes me out of it. Whereas Ethan Hunt survives by doing a crazy stunt, where at least they like do like a different enough stunt each time where I'm like, that's super cool. But Ethan Hunt's never like eating, you know, 18 people shooting him at once, you know, like John Wick. But both are great franchises. I think they're very different franchises. It makes sense why people are going to compare them. But yeah, for me, I definitely like it. At this point, it's probably not that close. I definitely prefer Mission Impossible more than the John Wick franchise. But yeah, so that's really all I have to say about the movie. I mean, but
George, I'll give you some niceness. I preferred John Wick 4 over Dead Reckoning Part 1. So there's that.
I would hope so.
Yeah. That?
I think.
Oh, stop, Kev! Stop it!
Oh no, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is higher for me for sure than John Wick 4.
I have John Wick 4 over Dead Reckoning by 1 point, and I think that will.
Don't change it. No.
Don't
really.
I
think John Wick 4 is like
after watching this versus after watching John Wick 4, I was definitely more like amped after watching this, and I think a lot of that is, you know what John Wick 4 needs? Hi, bud. I know John Wick 4 needs a cool dun 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 theme. Like John Wick does not have a cool theme, whereas this, every time it comes on, it's like Creed playing the Rocky theme every time. It's like what did I say?
Indiana Jones.
Oh, Indiana Jones playing the Indiana.
Whereas I disagree with you, but I agree with you on this time. But I agree with you now.
Just play the hits, and every time they play it just bangs, and it's just absolutely awesome. Play the hits. I will say, Tyler, to your point of like they take risk. I feel like this is the only franchise ever in history that as they get more and more movies, they take themselves more and more serious. Like you're exactly right. This is the only franchise I would say, like, I don't think there's any chance Rebecca Ferguson gets brought back. Whereas if this shit were like Transformers, Marvel, Fast X, especially, like, they're bringing that person back in 2 movies when they need more money. Like, it's just, to me, this is the only franchise that's still like really trying to take itself seriously. And I'm not saying you're good. You go.
I was just saying, can I just ask Tara? You'll know. How well do these films usually do? I don't really know much about.
That's
box. Do
perfect
they do,
segue, Seth. I was just about to talk about that. These
that.
movies aren't major box office players. The peak is Fallout at about 700 million. Then Mission Impossible 2 is in second place, like 500 million. Everything under that's like 400 million total worldwide. So this movie's COVID delays made it production budget alone 290 million. It is underperforming at the box office right now. So it's probably going to be like a barely break even, which if you saw my shout out my TikTok, if you saw my box office breakdown with how crazy budgets are and marketing budgets and stuff, like John Wick 4 barely broke even. But like you look at the box office, you're like, oh my God, it made so much money. That's also a movie that barely broke even. This movie's probably going to barely break even. They've never been crazy box office stuff. So like everyone who was like, oh, this has a chance to cross $1 billion was just lost and misguided because never, like these have always been like, and I can't remember who it is. I think Doug might always be like the one who's always saying this, but these have always been like a more niche franchise than like every other franchise. Like these have never been like the biggest, blockbuster that comes out. So probably going to barely break even, might even be a loser we'll end up seeing. But a lot of it was just with the COVID delays. And yeah, so like there's like one of the fun facts on IMDb is like they started filming, this movie was initially filmed in Venice, but then that got shut down to COVID. So they just like, we're like, screw it. We don't need Venice. We'll just move to Rome. We'll film it there instead. Then that got shut down. And then it said Tom Cruise personally paid for a $500,000 cruise ship for the cast and crew to isolate. Like if any of them got COVID, he would just throw them on that cruise ship and be like, all right, go there until the 2 weeks is up and then come back. And he just had that floating on the coast of Italy, just like the cruise COVID ship. But yeah, so it's crazy that this came out 27 years after the original movie. That's just, at this point, like I get it, like you can kind of say it like a hot take, but it's just simply not. Like Tom Cruise is like the greatest action star ever. I can't believe like people were like saying like Keanu Reeves. Like I like Keanu Reeves a lot, but it's 27 years, and it's not like this was the beginning. 1996 was like what 10 years after the original Top Gun. So this dude's like been like 40 years plus of like just crazy action sequences.
Doing
this man
shit.
is just a wild dude, and I love that he's a magician now. It's so funny. I also love that the opening credits didn't come on. They always do this great. The opening credits, I always love Mission Impossible. They always hit so late in the movie, and it's just a banger.
Our episode on YouTube this week is going to have so many comments. Tyler, stop glazing the shit out of Tom Cruise.
Dude, some men put their lives in the line, and we gotta respect them. So
I will say that even though I knew that motorcycle jump sequence was coming, like my heart still my stomach still dropped.
They do a good thing where they like stop all the sound and all the
they stop the sound and like the camera work I think is sick because like they follow him from behind. And so
and then
like
a GoPro shot.
Yeah, so you feel like you're doing it's the same thing with the Halo leap where like the camera is literally right below Tom. So like you're like right there with him. And like you said, Seth, like they cut the sound. All you hear is the wind blowing. They do a really good job at like truly making you feel like you are in that position. And even though I knew that, like obviously everyone knew that was coming. We got so much footage of it beforehand. My stomach still dropped. And that is how good like some of these action sequences or stunts are.
What's like, the guy's name again? Is it
Christopher McQuarrie?
Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think now. He did obviously Rogue Nation, he did Fallout, and he's done this. You've got to think he's one of the best people at creating these action set pieces and these stunt set pieces in film in general right now. It is his eye for creating these shots is really, really, really brilliant. And
you know what I wonder though, like for the Halo jump or this motorcycle sequence or any of these other like massive stunts that these Mission Impossible movies have done, do you think those are like, do you think Tom Cruise goes to the filmmaker with this idea and says incorporate this in your movie somehow, or do you think the filmmaker brings it to Tom Cruise and is like, are you comfortable with this?
I think Tom Cruise will have a point where he is such a collaboration with the director at this point, whereas it'll be a collaborative talk between them. He'll suggest an idea, the director will suggest an idea, and Tom Cruise will always be open to doing stuff. And because he is the face of this franchise, he doesn't make them, but he's the face, and they will be a collaborative project, a lot of them anyway.
That's like I'm just thinking like Christopher McQuarrie, like writing this script, giving it to Tom. and being like, yeah, bro, there's one scene where I'm gonna need you to like jump this motorcycle off a cliff and parachute. Like that one had to be Tom's.
I think it's Tom Cruise like suggesting that.
But like Seth said, I think it's super
credit.
collaborative. Like because Christopher McQuarrie, they've collaborated forever. Like because he's written like almost every Tom Cruise. Like he wrote Valkyrie, Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow, The Mummy. The last two Mission Impossible, he wrote Top Gun Maverick. So they've been working together for coming up on 15 years. So I'm sure it's a very collaborative effort. I'm sure there's like moments. I'm sure like he probably has an idea of what the screenplay is going to be. And it's like clearly like, you know, we have the train sequence, we have like a motorcycle sequence. Then they kind of from there, they're like, here's the big action set pieces. What do we want to do? You know, practically, like have you jump a cliff, and then what do we want to do? You know, CGI or something like the train sequence. And I feel like Tom Cruise kind of picks and chooses from there what he's comfortable with.
I think this is where we're giving Tom Cruise a little too much credit of him trying to convince us he's a normal person. I don't think he's coming up with these stunts. I think he just is a madman who's accepting whatever he's given.
No, I think Tom Cruise has enough enthusiasm.
The mission, should he choose to accept it, I don't think he's coming up with these stunts. He's a smart guy, but I think it takes a lot more than just like Tom Cruise being like, I want to jump a bike off a mountain. Like I don't even think it's Christopher McQuarrie, really. I think they probably have some sort of stunt coordinator who's like just scouting locations and trying to figure out what.
Is that actually such a smart thing to bring up? I can't imagine him.
Well, I'm just saying, I think we're giving him too much credit.
I agree on this one. I can't imagine Tom Cruise not having the ability to say, I want to jump off a cliff with a motorbike. Do you know what I mean? It's not great. There'll be coordinators. I just think he'll help with the initial idea of what stunt to achieve. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Top Gun Maverick wouldn't be a movie without Tom Cruise, simply because I feel like he was just like, let's do this. Let's run this back. I feel like he probably was the one who set that idea in motion. Personally, that's just my thoughts. But yeah,
it's essentially
good movie.
He's there.
Fun.
Real quick before we move on, what's your favorite stunt from this franchise? What's the best like Tom?
You know what I'm gonna say.
Stunt?
I think the Halo leap.
You know what I'm gonna say.
I think that is the coolest look. I don't know if you were here when we were talking about this, Cam, but like everything in that sequence, from the camera work to like the red lighting to like the way the camera like makes you feel like you're the third person there with Tom and Henry, and then Henry dips. And then you're following Tom, and then like you're underneath Tom. You know?
I wish we would have a more diverse list, but I think the Halo jump.
That's just it's the coolest. Yeah, and then even like everything getting down to the building, like Henry Cavill's character obviously passes out. Tom's doing his thing, trying to like save him. That whole sequence is.
I think it's there when like Tom limps off when Tom like lands and then limps off. Right. That's because he like actually broke his leg or broke his ankle.
No, that's the scene where he like ran. No, different scene.
What? I just watched this movie 2 days ago.
I think it's in Rogue Nation. He's like running and jumping to another building, and like. You see his leg like hit, and he still runs off.
Is it not in Fallout?
Maybe it's Fallout or Rogue Nation. It's one of the two, but that's not the Halo leap sequence. I know.
Produces all these films, doesn't he? He does, doesn't he?
After like 3, I think. Yeah.
I thought he did all of them.
Maybe I don't think he had enough money before that. To be honest,
no,
he wasn't like that big of a name.
What Seth, is yours the Halo jump also your favorite stunt?
To be honest, yeah, and it's a basic answer, but it's so fucking good, man. Yeah, I'd probably say Halo.
Honestly, for me, it might be the Burj Khalifa climb, just because like that's like the only stunt in the franchise where I'm like, how did they do this? Like simply because like obviously all of them are crazy, but like that one I'm like, this is where Scientology comes into play, because I don't think anyone, even the biggest star in the world, is able to go to the Middle East and say I'm climbing the Burj Khalifa. I think that's where he had to have the puppeteers pull some strings, because like. I don't know, man. That just seems.
It is Tom Cruise. To be fair,
it is crazy, and I know money. I know like money talks and everything, and you can do anything with money. But it is crazy, like how much shit they've done for this. Like they shut down. I think it was like wherever they were in Italy in Fallout, they basically shut down that entire like city for 3 days just to film this thing. It is crazy that they're just like able to do that kind of thing.
Just to clarify, Tom Cruise was a producer on every single Mission Impossible, even the first and the second one. Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting. All right. Anything else you want to touch on for Dead Reckoning Part 1? That pretty much wraps it up here. Seth, 3.5 out of 5. Myself and Tyler, 4 out of 5. Cam, 4.5 out of 5, and he agrees John Wick Chapter 4 is better.
For now.
So moving on, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler. So much news this week about the strike, obviously, and there's just been a lot of questions. We're going to keep this relatively brief. We're really just going to give you the facts just so that you guys are up to speed and aware. If you want like more information, obviously seek a very credible source. Even head to Twitter. Tyler's been retweeting a lot of good stuff, especially if you're a content creator out there and you like are curious what this means for you. Definitely check out Tyler's Twitter because he's been retweeting a lot. He's been providing a lot of great information. So Tyler, run us through whatever you want with the strike.
Yeah, I'll be pretty brief here. So basically, we know the Writers Guild of America has been on strike for a couple months now, and now the SAG Screen Actors Guild has joined them, and a lot of people are wondering what this means. So basically, why are they striking? They're striking because they want fair wages, they want better living conditions and working conditions, they want stuff like AI to not be able to take over their work, which is kind of similar to what we saw from, the Writers Guild as well, and the studios, being greedy, wanting to keep as much money as they can. This is very similar to, like any professional sports league that has unions, or really any kind of union where it's a group of people, you have to be in it in order to work in the industry, and you kind of set a deal with the studios that'll last like 3-ish years or something. So then once they come to agreement, they're set for 3 years. No matter how bad the deal is for either side, it doesn't matter. You're locked in. But then once that 3 years comes up, they'll get back to the negotiating table. And obviously this is the first time since 1960 that they both strike at the same time. So a big thing a lot of people I've seen some people say is like, aren't actors already like, millionaires? Why do they need to be striking? Got to remember that 99% of actors are not the household name. You think of all the movies you've ever seen where it's either not even just background people, but just like side characters that you've only seen in one movie ever, and you're like, they just have minor roles. All those kind of people like just really don't get much money. A big thing also is residual pay. We've all been seeing stuff be taken off of Disney Plus, stuff be taken off of HBO Max, and then residuals get taken away, which the only reason they take that off is because, every time George rewatches Zack Snyder's Justice League, they're all going to get, a check each month of how many people are watching that on HBO Max. But when you take that off the streaming platform, they're like, haha, look, no one is able to watch it. Therefore, we never have to pay you guys again for this movie. So that's another thing they're striking for. So a lot of people are wondering what this means for content creators. Everything at this point, information is evolving daily. This is a Saturday morning right now. It could be very different by the time Monday comes around, but it's pretty much just like, we're not in the union at the end of the day. We're not union workers. A lot of, like 99% of us don't aspire to ever be in the union of the SAG or the Writers Guild. So they can't really expect us to do anything to not post content or anything like that. Now, if you want, things get murky if you are a content creator making TikToks and your end goal is to be a writer or your end goal is to be an actor, then maybe you want to take your own caution, because I've seen sources, again, nothing's been official. It's all been like, oh, I got off the phone with someone who knows someone in SAG. Like, nothing official's come out, and they really need to get something official out so we all have better, clear guidance. But let's just be honest, people. Like, it's writers striking for better wages and actors striking for better wages. Like, the content creator aspect for them is just so low down on their priority because it's just not what they're in the business for or working towards. So, like, what they're not going to really be that worried about it as much as we are, since we are creators. So I would just say, if you are looking to be a writer or an actor, do your own research and due diligence and make your own decision, because you're not in the union right now. And so they can't really like hold it against you if you do work. I will say, if you think you want to be an actor and join SAG one day, they're an organization just like anything else. So don't think that just because you're a super good soldier and not posting and doing everything by the book that you're going to get any sort of like special treatment or help getting into SAG one day. They do not give a fuck about you. Like, we support the writers and actors, but let's not pretend that you're going to get an easier ride in if you're going to be like a better soldier than other people. So yeah, it's just like, do your own research. Again, there's nothing legally like people can definitely keep working. I know all of us have taken brand deals before. None of them have come from actors. None of them have come from writers. They've all come from studios. So nothing's going to change in the content creator side of things. I will say, though, I've seen some content creators post and be like, well, we're not union and we're not trying to be union, so there's really no moral issue here. And I will say that's wrong. Like, there absolutely is like a morality thing, which for me, I'm going to keep posting. I think all of us are going to keep posting as normal. But there's definitely a moral issue there. You can't pretend like it's completely away, because we are trying to profit off of movies made by actors and writers. So by us continuing to take money from studios while they're trying to fight for better wages, yeah, technically you can look at it in a moral lens that maybe it's not the most moral thing to do, because we're trying to profit off these people while also not being in solidarity in terms of like withdrawing our work. But at the same time, we aren't protected by their union. Anything they're fighting for isn't going to trickle down to us. So I think all of us can agree, we're all like, we want the writers to get paid. We want the actors to get a better deal. We want better working wages. We don't want AI to be messing up things and being taken advantage of for these people. But at the same time, unless some crazy clear direction comes down, like, they can't expect anything from content creators to change. And for us, especially for us, none of us have aspirations of being actors. Maybe one day, maybe some of us want to write a screenplay, but we're not like
George
actively.
wants to be Batman.
George wants to be Batman, but none of us are actively working towards it. Whereas I know a lot of content creators on this app or on TikTok want to do that one day. So they'll have to do their own research. But again, like anything, educate yourself, make your own decision. But our stance going forward is like, we're on the side of the writers and the actors, but at the end of the day, it's our jobs, and we're going to be continue to work. A lot of good content's been posted on TikTok from like Movies Are Therapy has posted a video on it. Reservoir Dogs has posted a video on it. Straw Hat Goofy posted a wild video on it, so go check that one out. But yeah, that's all we got to say on the strike. There's definitely some moral gray issues, but in terms of like, are you allowed to? Yeah, you're absolutely allowed to keep posting content. And at the end of the day, it's just writers and actors working to get a better deal going forward. So we'll see how long that lasts. First time since 1960, they're both striking. The last time that this happened, the president of the SAG was Ronald Reagan. So we know what happened after that. He became president. So we'll see what's in this future for Fran Drescher and as the nanny. We'll see if she makes a presidential run after this. But that's all I have.
How I don't know if you have an answer, but how long would you anticipate this strike lasting?
Haven't people said like 6 months? What I've read or something.
Yeah,
The only reason I ask, the reason I ask, and I don't know if this is going to come off douchey or not, but there are so many like massive releases coming out from now till the end of the year. Obviously, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Dune Part 2. I can't imagine like Denis and Scorsese are going to be like, I know they're standing in solidarity with the actors and the writers, but like they got to be pissed off that like they're not going to be able to promote these movies that already have a massive budget and already don't have wide general audience appeal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are predicting like it'll be like a 4 or 5 months or so in the fall. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that all goes down. Like I made a joke about it on Twitter, like David Fincher's The Killer is like the least promoted movie of all time. No one's heard any new news about it. And now they say they're going to premiere it at like Venice Film Festival, which this strike probably won't be wrapped up by then. So it's just fitting that The Killer will get literally no press or no coverage until it just like drops on Netflix one day. But yeah, we'll see when this all gets resolved. I bet it'll be a while. Like the thing that's interesting from me, which I don't have the right answer for, but no one really cared about this whole morality and all this like, are we allowed to post or not when the writers striked? But then like once the actors started striking, everyone started worrying about it. So I found that kind of interesting. Like, I don't know, like basically the actors kept working and weren't in solidarity with the writers. So like now that the actors are striking, they're like, oh, well, content creators should stop posting to be in solidarity with them. And it's like, well, the actors were still working when the writers were striking, and directors are working when the writers are striking. So just weird. It's a weird time in the movie industry. Hope it all works out. But yeah, it's not going to be anytime soon.
I do think, like, unfortunately, writers again got kind of shafted in the sense that no real traction was going to be made until the until the actors also went on strike, which sucks, but that's kind of what it looks like. And I don't think either of them will walk away with a deal without the other ones walking away. I'm guessing there will be some sort of like. It's going to be the same day when both deals get done. So that might take it a little bit longer, but I do think it'll be shorter now that the actors have also started striking than it could have been before. But fuck you, studios.
But like obviously fuck
you, Bob Iger.
We saw like 6 months ago or something like Sydney Sweeney posting saying like she's like she did not make as much from the TV shows as you think she does, and she's like I basically still live paycheck to paycheck and I need to get more movies and TV shows simply to like afford life. And when that came out, obviously everyone was like, oh, boo-hoo, like she's like a huge movie star, like obviously she's probably making a ton, and now people are starting to come around and be like, oh shit, she probably like isn't, because you know, like
the
and
it's one of those
don't
things
pay
where,
like much.
shoot, what's her name, Rachel Zegler, who starred in a Steven Spielberg West Side Story. It's obviously her first movie, so she's not going to make as much as most people, but it's still Steven Spielberg movie. It's a huge news. Like, she should be compensated for just like how much this movie's going to bring in or whatever. She took Shazam Fury of the Gods because she needed money, and she was like very open about that on press. She's like, it was COVID, I had nothing. And so, like, you know, people are kind of confused on how that happens, but clearly they're not getting paid a ton. Like, obviously the big name actors aren't the issue here. It's people who are up and coming trying to get paid a fair wage.
Have you ever seen, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I remember seeing somewhere where all of like the kids of Stranger Things, what they were paid compared to like Winona Ryder and David Harbour.
One Winona Ryder or something.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap up our strike talk there. Before we get into our Mission Impossible rankings, we do want to quickly touch on a couple of DC castings. The biggest two, and obviously we're a little late to the party, but there were a couple that dropped in the last week or so we might as well just include everyone. The biggest two, David Corenswet has been cast as the new Superman. Rachel Brosnahan joins David as Lois Lane. We also have Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. Isabella, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce a few of these names incorrectly. Isabella Merced will play Hawk Girl. We also have Eddie Gathegi will play Mr. Terrific. I killed that name. You guys better compliment me on saying that last name.
I thought it was Edie Gathegi.
God damn it.
So yeah, I thought you went the soft E on both.
Okay, all right. Well, either way, I feel really confident about that.
That's all right.
And then Anthony Carrigan is going to play Metamorpho. Personally, there's not much I can say on the latter four that I mentioned: Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and Metamorpho. I really don't know those characters. I haven't really dived into those graphic novels as much. Obviously, I'm still very like basic, surface level when it comes to graphic novels. Give me Superman and Batman, and I'm chilling. I love the casting of David Corenswet as Superman. Everyone just keeps putting his picture with Henry Cavill's picture side by side, and he literally just looks like a younger Henry Cavill. Not much I can say on his acting ability. The only thing I've seen him in is Pearl, and I mean, no offense, nothing stand out there, but he wasn't like a massive character in that movie. But I trust James Gunn. I think James Gunn, historically, between the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy, I think if there's one thing he does very well, regardless of what you think of his movies, I think he casts his movies incredibly, incredibly well. So I have a lot of confidence in him. And then Rachel Brosnahan, same thing as David Corenswet. I just don't know her, which I personally like. Seth had sent in our group chat a screenshot of the castings, and he said, I don't know any of these names. And I responded with, that's a good thing. I think it's nice that these are like fresh faces. So like, you'll really see them as the characters. They really have this opportunity to like mold into these DC characters and like become these characters. So Cam, I'll throw it over to you. What are your thoughts on all of these castings?
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to talk these, other than just like big Superman castings, so the big news is Nathan Fillion get casting as Green Lantern, right? But it's also Guy Gardner Green Lantern. You're not casting John Stewart or Hal Jordan. Like, they're not the big Green Lanterns, at least that most people know. Shut the fuck up. No one knows this character. Sorry, I'm gonna be mean to people on Twitter right now. Nobody gives a shit about this character. Nobody knows this character. You're all lying, saying you care. Nathan Fillion has been cast as this character. Hold on, that shut the fuck came out of nowhere. I really thought you were talking to your kid for a second. No. I was like, yo. No, that is like, me to everyone on Twitter. I saw one person tweet like, my favorite character has just been cast as to James Gunn's friend. Shut up. Nobody knows Guy Gardner. There are people who are fans of Guy Gardner, but I guarantee you there are less than like 20 Guy Gardner comics. So shut up. Like nobody cares about this character. Nathan Fillion, I am almost 100% certain this will be his last movie as Guy Gardner. They're going to kill him off. He's going to be the emotional death for this specific movie. Edie Gathegi and Isabella Merced, I would expect maybe have a little bit more, but I'm almost 100%. You can come back to this pod and yell at me when I'm an idiot, but I'm telling you right now, Nathan Fillion is not the Green Lantern in this universe. He's not Hal Jordan. He's not Jonathan Stewart, who are the two biggest Green Lanterns in the comics. So shut up. It's not that big of a deal. Also, Nathan Fillion, you could argue, has the most reason to play Green Lantern due to him. He was the voice of Green Lantern through the entire DCAU. So I'm crushing through that right now. So he's played Green Lantern in 15 movies. So clearly he has some sort of traction. Everyone's losing their mind. He's cast James Gunn. And Tyler, you tweeted it, like James Gunn gets the most hate of any like director ever for just no reason, and it's because he casts his friends in like small roles. I'm so confident this will be a small role that is just so unnecessarily like tiny and just used for a death. I'm confident it's just used for a death. I'm calling that now. Isabella Merced playing Hawkgirl, she's awesome in basically everything she does. Like if you watch Age of Extinction, I think she's probably the best part, other than like the one guy explaining the Romeo and Juliet rule, because throw that in, of course. She's Dora, fun fact. But on top of that, she is in a movie called Instant Family with Mark Wahlberg, which I really, really like, and she's very good in it. And my wife really likes that. I'm getting waved over, so sorry. But Edie Gathegi also in X-Men First Class, and everyone always tweets that he's the unkillable character that they killed off. Good job, James Gunn. Good job casting. I'll be back.
Yeah, I think it's just crazy, like how like James Gunn just truly can't do anything right. Twitter will just rip him to shreds, like, and it's from all angles. So you have the Snyder cultists who, like, if James Gunn posts a picture of like his dinner for the night, like some Snyder person will apply and be like, Zack Snyder would never eat corn with his steak. Like that's
George.
Yeah. No, stop. Don't do that. This is what I don't understand. Like, why are you actively rooting against? Like, I get it. I'm a Snyder cultist through and through. He's one of my favorite filmmakers ever. I fucking love him. But like, I'm never gonna actively root against James Gunn. Like, why would you do that? Why do you want him to fail? Then you just have to sit through another shitty movie. Like, it doesn't make sense to me when even like the Marvel
films to be bad. That's
like the Marvel DC war. I get it. If you're a huge Marvel stan, you don't want to see DC succeed. But like at the same time, why would you not want these movies to succeed? That because you're gonna see them. So if they suck, you're just spending 2.5 hours sitting through a bad movie. Why would you want that? It pisses me off so much. I think fuck everyone. It's annoying.
Like the Snyder stuff's just crazy because it's not like this is James Gunn like directing one movie in the DC universe and people be like, no, we want Zack Snyder to continue his story. Like at this point, like the Snyder universe like is dead, gone, is never coming back. So like you just got to move on. But then like same time, so you got Snyder attacking Snyder fans attacking everything James Gunn does. Then you have the I'll call him like the snobby movie side of Twitter that just like every day I see some new post about like James Gunn has no technical ability behind the lens, and James Gunn like uses like CGI animals for cheap ways to get emotion. It's like, I swear I've never seen every day on my feed any director get just so much hate. Like we've gone through waves where like M. Night Shyamalan is super buzzy director to tweet about, or let's see, like I'm trying to think of other ones I just see often all the time.
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, we just talked about Zack Snyder, but
well, people. Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, and Michael Bay gets brought up a lot, but like James Gunn, I've never seen anything like it, where just everyone just like wants to just tear this dude down. When it's like, and it's just funny too, because it's like a lot of people enjoy, like even the people who enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies still like want to just like tweet about like, wow, he's no technical ability behind the lens. Like he's such a beginner level director. It's like, just please, like grass is right outside. Just touch it.
That's my favorite insult, when someone like replies with just like "go touch grass." Like I think that's hilarious because like I feel like people make jokes all the time about like keyboard warriors, but like "go touch grass" is my favorite one of those keyboard warrior jokes.
For sure.
All right, we'll wrap it up there before we get into our Mission Impossible ranking. If you guys are enjoying this episode so far, wherever you're watching, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple, those are the only places you could watch our podcast, I think. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, rate us a 5 stars. If you want to go above and beyond, drop us a lovely review, call us beautiful or something. All of that obviously helps push us out to as many people as possible. And also the support is just what keeps us going. So make sure to lock in there. But let's get into the final part of our episode, the Mission Impossible rankings. We'll run through, we'll just kind of go in a circle on like, this is my 7, this is your 7, everyone's 7. We'll make it easy for everyone. We all have Mission Impossible 2 in last.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we are all in agreement there.
Yeah, we're all in agreement there.
That's the bad one. So.
Yeah, I double checked everyone's Letterboxd ranking. That is one of the most mutually agreed on like film opinions I've ever seen. That Mission Impossible 2 is the worst Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, I will say like, for me,
sorry, go ahead, Seth.
It's the worst, but it's not for me. It's not. I think I have like a 2.5. I didn't particularly like it. I didn't hate it. It's not that far away from. I won't say, but the next one up anyway for me. Actually, yeah, I won't say yet, but it's not that far away. It's not like for me the significant worst, but it's not great.
It's the only one for me that like truly felt uninspired. Like every other Mission Impossible movie, it looked like everyone was there having like a really good time. This was the only Mission Impossible movie where I was like, this really feels like they're just running through the motions. They tried to rinse and repeat Mission Impossible 1 as opposed to like expanding the lore or like diving deeper into these characters. And that's where I think, and when we get to Mission Impossible 3, because that's where I like really start locking into the Mission Impossible franchise. That's the biggest difference for me between like 2 and 3. 2 just feels like rinse and repeating of 1, whereas Mission Impossible 3 feels like, okay, we're really trying to expand on the characters and the lore here better than Mission Impossible 2 did.
I also think Mission Impossible 2, my main issue a lot of the time was I think a lot of the interactions between characters feel very unnatural and bizarre in Mission Impossible 2, like to the point which is so different from the rest of the franchise.
It's just like bland writing.
Pretty cool though. I did quite like the ending. I do think some of the set pieces are cool, but it is very much a film that I was never loving, and it is rather bland for 70% of it. I'll say that.
Yeah, well, they heavily lean into the romance in that one more so than any other movies, where there's always a romantic element, but Thonduy Newton and Tom Cruise, like this is basically a romance movie for most of it. And there's obviously some people that don't agree that this is the bottom one, but a lot of people are in unanimous agreement, which makes it really funny on Twitter when like I'll see someone tweet like a clip of the final sequence of Mission Impossible 2 and be like, look how like awesome this movie is. I can't believe everyone hates on it. And, like all the replies and quotes would be like, but talk about the other hour 45. Like, why don't you?
Because that is a good scene, to be fair.
Right. No, there's great scenes. Yeah. And like, I thought the opening with him climbing the rock, like is just a madman way to open it. And I thought that was funny. But like an hour and a half of this movie is just like a weird flirtatious romance of him and Thonduy Newton that I never felt was natural. It just felt so forced, and the writing between them two was just really weird. But for me, it's like by far the least favorite, and it's a 2.5. So yeah, but we're all in agreement. So
it's a 2 for me, and it's the only Mission Impossible movie personally that sits below a 3.5. I think outside of 2, I think this has been one of the most consistent franchises we have. But we won't harp too much on Mission Impossible 2. So let's get into our number 6. Cam, what do you have at the 6th ranked?
Might be a hot take. I have Mission Impossible 3 at number 6. I do not like Mission Impossible 3.
Same here.
Is it? Oh, okay. Maybe it's just because like Alex Alex has like the only rankings I've seen this week, I feel like, are Alex's.
Yeah, but when Alex likes a film, he will just push that film so
Yes.
hard, like
Suck it off like crazy.
he
So,
actually doesn't like it that much. That's what I feel like Alex does.
I'll say this. I think while Philip Seymour Hoffman is great because he's great in everything he does, I think he was miscast in this one. I don't think, or there was just bad writing. I don't think he
Bad writing, not miscast.
I think it's a combination of both. I don't think he plays a good villain in it. I think he does his best because he's a great fucking
does his best,
bro. He does incredible because he's a great actor, but I don't think he's the best villain.
No, he's not. He's not the best villain. But he would.
No, I'm not saying in this franchise. I just don't think he's a very good villain.
No, but that's the writing. That's not him. Like the entire sequence on the plane where like Ethan like almost throws him out of the plane, and he's just sitting there all like calm and collected. Or like when Ethan starts asking the questions, and he's just like, "Do you have a girlfriend or a wife?" Like that. Come on, that's menacing.
Imagine, Cam. Imagine if it was miscast. Imagine the writing with someone other than Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I don't know. I'm not all about Philip Seymour Hoffman in this one. Like I love him in almost everything he does. I'm not all about it in this one. It's a 3 out of 5, or I think I have it like a 61 out of 100. But it's just it's not my favorite.
Seth
and Tyler, you also have Mission Impossible 3 at number 6.
Yeah, so I liked it. I do agree with Kant. I think I really like Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's one of my favorite actors, so I love him because I love his presence. I do think this one, specifically the setup for me was a bit bland. I couldn't care much about what was going on a lot of the time. It did have some cool set pieces. I think this one, from maybe it is, from what I've seen, I think this one is usually the consensus 6, but maybe it isn't. I've not looked at other people's ratings. But I thought
people like
I think it's just one of those films that's got like a small cult following.
That's probably it.
It's like every M. Night movie. No one really likes M. Night movies. They just like
I agree. It's like those like Zack Snyder films, you know. I think that like there is J.J. Abrams does his best here, but I just don't think the direction is the strongest suit of this one, to be honest. But I think it's just a fine, I guess, serviceable action film that you can enjoy, but nothing really blew me away. I have it the same as Cam, a 3 out of 5. So it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Tyler, anything you want to say?
Yeah, so I'm definitely not in Cam's side. Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think, is the best acting villain in this in this franchise, but a lot of people that I think rate this movie high really like don't give enough credit to how bad the writing is. I think his villain from the beginning to the end was written awfully, from how he was introduced to how he was dealt with. Just not good. I just think the writing was truly bad, but his performance elevated it so much that I was so engaged and I loved him so much. But I really can't get how people rate this movie like higher in their rankings, or like top like 3. I've seen some people put it in because it's like he's just such a bad villain in terms of like how he was written. But again, like I think he's probably my favorite performance ever in the franchise. But I can't forgive how he was introduced, how he was taken away.
You think he was a bad villain? Interesting. Okay.
No, like I thought the writing on his character and his whole arc was just not good, but he was incredible. But yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think he was bad. I do think he was probably one of the weakest villains. I don't think he was terrible.
I almost think for me, I would have rather seen a worse actor in this. Like in the sense, I feel like it was just such a disservice to him to give him this kind of.
I just think he elevated the film though. Every time he was on screen, doesn't matter how bad the writing is. I thought it was incredible. Philip Seymour Hoffman's just amazing.
He's him.
You know what I mean? So it elevated it for me anyway. But I would agree, it wasn't the best
one of the goats. This is where we separate. My number 6 is the first Mission Impossible. I apologize. I'm so sorry for all the Brian De Palma stands. I think he crafts. Yeah, Glazers. I don't get the Brian De Palma like love, honestly.
How many Brian De Palma films have you seen?
I've seen Scarface. I've seen Carrie. I've seen Mission Impossible. Blowout. I've seen Carlito's Way, but a long time ago, so I'll like refrain from.
I do love Carlito's
Way. I do need to rewatch that. I also need to rewatch Phantom Paradise. I've seen that a long time ago.
Shit. Yeah, it's funny. Crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, I have no hate towards Brian De Palma. I just think it's like such a weird discourse around him. But again, I give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I think everything after Mission Impossible 2, or everything excluding Mission Impossible 2, has been very solid. I think this is a really cool introduction to this, IMF world, to this character of Ethan Hunt, to this franchise. Obviously, there's the iconic coming down from the ceiling scene, which I think is crafted very well. I think this movie sets the tone for the entire franchise very, very well. But on the same time, it's just the most 90s action movie I've ever seen. And it's just it's so cliche. It's so predictable. It's very at times corny. And I hate talking about this movie like that because it is a 90s action movie. That's just what comes with that era of action, I think. But no, I have no animosity towards this movie. I think it's very, very solid. And then moving into, and I'll just continue my number 5 because you guys are all already talked about it. I have Mission Impossible 3 at number 5. Pretty much agree with everything you guys said. I don't think I dislike the villain as much as you do. I do think he's very poorly written, but again, I never think these movies are here for the villain. I think the villain is just kind of like a plot device to give Ethan Hunt cool shit to do. And for what it's worth, I think Philip Seymour Hoffman played the villain very, very well. Those 2 scenes I mentioned earlier, the countdown scene, as well as the, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a wife scene? I think just is acted really goddamn well. So yeah, I have Mission Impossible at 6 and the Mission Impossible 3 at number 5.
I will say, I thought my reaction then, I didn't think you'd have it at 3.5. I thought you'd start lower.
No,
so I was thinking you would say you'd have Mission Impossible like a 2.5 or a 3. So
no,
3.5.
I've really liked these movies. I really have.
I thought you were lower than them. I think that's why I was shocked that it was that low because I thought you were going to say like a 2.5 or something.
I think there was also a benefit of not having seen these when they came out on release, because I think for the last 3 months, as I built up telling everyone I'm going to be watching these Mission Impossible movies, everyone just kept saying don't expect top tier writing really until Rogue Nation or Fallout. Go into these movies and just have a good time with the action. And that's exactly what I did. So I think just going in with that mindset really helped me, because I wasn't expecting these top tier narratives. And even so, I think the story works across these movies, except for Mission Impossible 2, really. But yeah, I don't hate any of these movies. Even Mission Impossible 2, I rate low, but I don't hate the movie. It's not good, but for what it's worth, it's enjoyable. So yeah, I got Mission Impossible at 6 and then Mission Impossible 3 at 5. You guys, let's get into your number 5s. Tyler, what do you got at number 5?
Yeah, number 5 for me, I have Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And reading through my review, honestly, I don't know, it feels weird putting it this low. It's kind of like what you're saying. I really do enjoy all these movies. So it's not really knocking it. I think the big thing is the Burj Khalifa scene, we mentioned earlier. I love that. The whole Kremlin scene in the beginning, I really enjoyed that as well. You got Jeremy Renner being added in, which I didn't love. But the big thing for me is I've really binged these all back to back to back, and I never felt that any of the first few movies had good villains. I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman was close, but I didn't like the writing. And then Ghost Protocol was the same thing for me. I was this movie just needs a villain that I care about or that's compelling enough to really put it over the edge. But other than that, now that I'm kind of remembering Ghost Protocol, I really like that movie. Just thinking about that whole Kremlin opening and the whole Burj Khalifa, Simon Pegg being I really love a lot about this movie. It's just the villain held it back for me.
Yeah.
Either Seth or
yeah.
What's your number 5?
Yeah, mine. Me, you. Okay. Mine is Ghost Protocol as well. I think Ghost Protocol is good. I have the exact same issue as Tyler. I think the motivation for specifically the villain in this one were there, but I just didn't find him that intimidating or that alarming of a presence. I think there's some really cool set pieces, especially the Burj Khalifa. I really like the location. Some of the narrative points here and there, I was like, okay, that's a little bit bland. They played it a little bit safe there, but I think it's this was the introduction of Simon Pegg, wasn't it? Or was that the one before? No, that was 3, wasn't it?
Introduction 3 was the introduction, but
yeah, and then 4 he had a little bit of a more involved role. I guess
think this is his first he's in the franchise.
Yeah. Obviously, I loved that. And I think it's so funny to me. It's directed by Brad Bird. I just think that's hilarious. He's such a fucking random guy.
Yeah,
he did a really good job on it because some of the set pieces and sequences in this one are great, especially the ending. I really liked. I've got this at 3.5. But yeah, it is my my 5. Yeah, my 5.
My 5 is the original Mission Impossible. I am in the belief, so a 3.5 out of 5 or a 74 out of 100 right there. I'm in the belief that like the original 3 Mission Impossibles are just not like in this franchise, like just a different franchise. They take such a turn once it starts like going away from the numbers and going to, in my opinion, it like the styles change of how they're presenting themselves. I do think this is the best of the original 3. Everyone loves to freak out, like Brian De Palma directed this one, and people like to like freak out that like he has a style in this that like you wouldn't get, and anyone who has this one as like number 2, they get it. Like I see that on Twitter a lot. I think it's fine. Like George said, it's a very 90s. It's a very 90s action movie, and that's great for some. It's just I'm not a 90s action guy. I guess I prefer what we're getting now with like the insane
John Wick.
Sure, the insane fight choreography and like the fast pace like action sequences. Like I just prefer what we're getting now, I guess. But I enjoy this movie a lot. I still think it's like a good movie. I just don't love it as much as the rest, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So now we'll get into our number 4s. My number 4, I got Ghost Protocol.
So do I. So we can just
we could just tag team here.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Where like the first 3 Mission Impossible movies just don't feel like the same franchise, and Ghost Protocol is like really where it takes that turn. I think the tone completely changes to where this feels more. I don't know. The stakes feel higher. There feels like there's a higher sense of urgency from Ghost Protocol on. Am I bugging out? No, I'm not bugging out. Okay, I was about to talk about Rebecca Ferguson, but that's not till Rogue Nation. But yeah, like completely agree with you, Cam. Where like Ghost Protocol on feels like a very different franchise, and that's for the better, in my opinion. I think it really starts to get grounded. I still wish that like, and again, I think I did myself a disservice by not having seen these movies before seeing the John Wick movies. I wish these movies expanded on the lore like of the IMF world more. I feel like it's just been like very like bland. Like we don't know much about the IMF other than it's the Impossible Mission Force. Ethan Hunt gets a briefcase, opens it up, mission there. Like I just wish there was more depth to this lore and this like world of like spy assassins or whatever. Cam?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I kind of like that it's this mystery force almost. I love the addition of Jeremy Renner is like secretly one of my favorite actors. I don't think he's like one of the best, and that's probably a lot to do just with Hawkeye and the fact that I really like a bow and arrow. But also I think he's great in Wind River.
You're a big bow and arrow guy.
Yeah,
I love Orlando Bloom.
Please don't go pull out a bow and arrow. I'm begging you not to do this.
Jesus
Christ. This man is such a nerd.
Wait, I don't think that's not a prop, right? Like it's a true hunting bow and arrow.
Like it's like a legit bow
it's
and arrow. Yeah, weird thing about me is I'm a big bow and arrow guy. But
do you hunt or do you just go to like archery range?
I have
do you
hunted
kill
once
someone
in
like
my
George
life.
has?
I've hunted once in my life. I sat there for 4 hours and didn't get anything. Didn't even see anything. And I'm now not a hunter and kind of anti-hunt because I like animals a lot. But
Cam's out there playing the most dangerous game because he doesn't want to kill animals.
I used to like shoot like in the back of my yard. It stemmed a lot from like the green arrow. I don't know. Big arrow guy. But beside the point, I really like Jeremy Renner. And I think he's great in this. I really like now that this is kind of where Luther and like Benji become like a part. Like I said, I feel like this is just a different franchise after the first 3, and I really enjoy where it goes. So I have an 84 out of 100, 4 out of 5. It's one of my favorite action movies. Like I think all the rest of these 4 that we're gonna mention are.
Yeah, Seth, what do you got at the number 4 spot?
Yeah, I don't really need to speak about this one because we just spent an hour, so you can divide it. My 4 is Dead Reckoning Part 1. Good film. 3.5 for me. But yeah, that is my 4. Obviously we don't need to speak about that at all, but yeah, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is my 4.
Tyler, number 4.
Yeah, number 4 for me is the original Mission Impossible. And I will say, so like 2 through 5, or like in my rankings, not like the Mission Impossible movies, like my second best to like the 5th best are all real neck and neck. So not big differentiators here. I guess I'm one of the people that glazed Brian De Palma. This is still stylistically my favorite of the series. And I think I started watching this franchise for the first time ever a month ago. No clue what to expect. I just thought it was going to be, classic, action franchise, spy thrillers. So when it started with the elevator scene where a dude's eye gets impaled and there's some gnarly graphic deaths, I was like, whoa, buckle up. Okay, I was not expecting this at all, getting graphic deaths like that. I thought it was going to be more like a blockbuster family-friendly action franchise. But immediately, 10 minutes in, you just get some gnarly deaths. And still, even though the action set pieces get bigger and better every movie, something about the scene where he just rappels down into the bank or into the vault thing still had me holding my breath harder than anything else that really has been done. The sweat dripping on his glasses. I love that whole scene so much. It really lived up to the hype. And I don't know, the helicopter going in a tunnel, this was just such a crazy debut for an action franchise. I feel like they just did so much craziness that just wasn't so many cookie cutter spy thrillers wouldn't do. But yeah, I just thought it was an absolute banger. And obviously, this was the first one to have the iconic score, which, arguably is top 5 most recognizable scores of all time, where this is one of the few scores that people who have never seen a Mission Impossible movie ever would recognize the theme song. So a lot of things
might be
are
a
iconic
stupid
about it.
question. Did the TV show not have the theme then, or was that introduced for the films?
I actually did. I'm today years old learning there was a TV show. I honestly didn't know.
Yeah.
That's what it was. No, the films are based off a TV show.
Yeah, I
I'm
knew that, but I have no
lost.
clue anything about them. Other
Oh,
than
yeah.
Then
other than
probably
they-
I would bet the theme would
I think
be
it's
in
a
that scene.
60s. It was a long-running TV show that came out in the 60s or 70s, but I don't know if the theme song was in them. I don't know if it was introduced for specifically the films. I'm not sure. I never watched it. I just know it was based off that anyway.
Sure, a quick Google can answer.
Yeah,
but we're not.
yeah.
it
gonna
looks
do
like
that.
the theme for Mission Impossible is the same theme from the TV series. What it's looking like, maybe, but still, same thing. That it's
Either
one
way,
of the
it
most iconic and
bangs.
recognizable of all time. Yeah.
It slaps.
Does slap. All right, moving into now, we're getting into our top 3. I got Dead Reckoning Part 1 at number 3. Like I said, I think this movie, and obviously I won't harp on it long since we just did an entire review. I think this movie has some of the best Mission Impossible scenes, sequences, action, stunts. But the narrative just falls a little flat for me. The whole AI taking over the world, I don't know, it just didn't land with me as much as I think it landed with other people. Nonetheless, top tier Mission Impossible movie, really solid action film, and that's my number 3. Cam, what do you got at number 3?
Yeah, George, you and I are just the smart people. But it's also my number 3, 88 out of 100. I think from here on we'll probably be pretty
Yeah, most likely.
pretty similar. But yeah, it's my number 3. We talked about it for an hour, but 88 out of 100. It's great. I really enjoyed it.
Tyler, what do we got at number 3?
Number 3 for me is Rogue Nation. So the Syndicate was starting to get to the point of a villain I really was enjoying, but it wasn't quite there yet, but it was definitely on the right track. The Syndicate was solid. Rebecca Ferguson, I absolutely loved her addition to this. And read my review, I'm just reminding myself of because it's, when you watch them all back to back to back, they kind of blend together a little bit. But that underwater scene, talking about holding my breath for a scene, that was just nuts.
Oh, it was so good.
The fact that was also, I mean, is it really surprising? Of course, Tom Cruise actually was holding his breath underwater for that whole scene. Just this dude's a madman, proves it every movie. And yeah, it was just again, similar to what I said with Ghost Protocol. If this had a better villain, this would be a 4.5 star film for me. But the villain just held it back a bit. So it's a 7.4 out of 10, meaning it's right almost close to a 4-star. But yeah, the action sequences were just crazy. Rebecca Ferguson is incredible. The Syndicate was solid. Just wanted a little more. But yeah, really, really liked Rogue Nation.
Awesome. Seth, you're number 3.
Yeah, so I have the original. Obviously, I'm a Brian De Palma fan. I think, so for me, this one, I kind of like a lot of these kind of, I guess, more minimalist sequences, such as the rappelling down sequence. And I do think it has this unique charm. 90s action is one of those, it does fall very into that play, whether you like them or not. I know some people don't. Like George said, it's not really his thing. It is mine. And I just think it is kind of executed just so well. The camera work is, in my opinion, some of the best of the series. I think it's phenomenally well paced to the point where it's just continuously entertaining, and it's this development into this character and into this kind of world that I really, really enjoy. It's certainly, not my favorite. I think I actually thought all of us would have the same top 2. I'll be honest. So that is interesting. But I just think it's kind of a delight. It's charming. It is cheesy, but delightfully so, in my opinion. And yeah, I just think, if Brian De Palma directs something, well, actually, I haven't seen all of his films. I've only seen like 10, 9, whatever, but I usually tend to like them just because I think he's a genius behind the camera. But yeah, so this is my 3. I have it at a 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10?
Four.
Yeah, that would be crazy at 3. I have it
mid franchise.
Mid franchise.
I have it 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. Out of 3.
Yeah. All right, and top 2. My number 2, Rogue Nation. Cam's number 2, Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation for me though is a 94 out of 100. It's sitting right at that 5-star mark. But it's 4.
Really?
I fucking love Rogue Nation. Tyler disappoints me here having it at 3, but it's still very high.
I think I might
High
change it to 4.5. I thought this was great.
I absolutely love Rogue Nation, man. And this it folds right into Fallout as well. And I think they just keep that incredibleness and then go an echelon above with Fallout. But it's just, I think it's awesome, man. I really do love it. I like Rebecca Ferguson. Like I said, I like her a lot in this first one. But I do think Jeremy Renner, again, kind of steals the show in this one. But
do you not like Sean Harris as well? I love Sean Harris as a villain.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I do. I like, is that, what's his name? Who's Sean Harris again? I know.
The one with the funny voice, the English guy.
Yeah. Is that not? And I'm completely blanking
because
Solomon. Is that Solomon Lane?
Yeah, Solomon Lane.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot. I'm blanking. I did not rewatch these, so I don't remember them perfectly, other than Fallout. But Solomon Lane is so damn good, and I like that he's used in Fallout as well. Like that kind of feels
presence, like, isn't he?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it's a connected universe at this point, or a connected franchise, I should say. But yeah, really love Rogue Nation. Also, I love the idea of like there's just like these rogue agents out there that you gotta everyone's gotta find or whatever. Huge fan of that.
Tyler, you're the only one without Rogue Nation. Number 2, what do we got?
Yeah, that's where I have Dead Reckoning Part 1. Again, we talked about it a lot. I just really think Haley Atwell's edition I've really, really enjoyed. Palm Clementif was incredible. And I really think that, to me, the hand-to-hand combat was the peak of this franchise so far. But yeah, looking back at my other reviews, it looks like it's not as many incredible, like, iconic moments that I can remember. But yeah, we talked about it long enough. But yeah, it's number 2 for me. If I rewatch the franchise, it might shift around a little bit because I think I am a little lower on Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol than I should be. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed Dead Reckoning Part 1. I was eating every second up when I was in that theater.
And then number 1, across the board, we all have
a surprise.
we all have the same number 7, and we all have the same number 1. Everything in the middle gets a little jumbled, but Mission Impossible Fallout. I think we all have this at a 4.5 out of 5, except Cam. I think was it a 5 out of 5.
4.
Tyler's a 4 for you. Okay. Well, either way, it's number 1 for all of us. For one of us, it's one of the greatest action movies ever. For 2 of us, it's a very solid action movie.
No, take that back. For 2,
for 2 of us, it's one of the best. I mean, for me, it's one of the best action movies ever, too, actually. So
I said, the first thing I said, and I don't say this to Cameron a lot, because Cameron is a franchise guy and I'm not. The first thing I said, I messaged to the group chat and I said, Cam, you were fucking right on this. Genuinely,
so good, man.
No argument for me,
yeah,
I think this is one of the best action films of easily this century so far, and possibly ever. I think it works. It's perfectly executed, and I think on another watch, this could be a 5 for me. I think it's that good. I think.
Well, I was about to ask. You just said it's perfectly So what? Right now, what's holding it back from a 5 out of 5 for you?
So when it comes to action, there is always things that I don't love. I think the film is perfectly executed in itself, but I just have a thing where action where I doesn't push the boundaries. And for me to give a film on a 5, I guess on first watch, I need to have where I love every single second. And I think Fallout is perfectly executed, but there is a few duds in the mold sometimes. But I think as an action film, this is an action film of this ilk. It's about as much as I can love it, because it's like, okay, for example, when I watched Dune for the first time, I said that I thought Dune was one of the best sci-fis of this century. I gave it 4.5. And that's not me giving it disrespect, because I haven't got any other sci-fis this century at a 5. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with Mission Impossible, I haven't got any other action film, all-out action film, there's only 2 action films I have ever as a 5-star. So me giving this a 4.5 is kind of the biggest compliment because they're not my kind of sort of films. And I think Fallout is one of those films which could be that in the future because I think it's that good. I think it's really, really good. Really,
yeah,
really
that's. I think Fallout is, like I said, narratively, I've never like thought there's anything special about the Mission Impossible movies, but this is the one movie where like I genuinely like love the story. I love the character work. It's like just one of the most like. It can be so endearing at times between Ethan and Ilsa, as well as Ethan's ex-wife. I think the chemistry of the group between like Simon Pegg and Luther is just at its best in this movie. And again, the story is just compelling. Dead Reckoning, I don't think like the entire AI, story that we got was the most engaging thing. The thing that really held me on to Dead Reckoning, and the reason I loved it as much as I did, was because of the action set pieces and our characters. Fallout was just like the perfect compilation of everything, of Mission Impossible, everything. Yeah. Like I think Mission Impossible 3 excels with its characters and its villain. I think Mission Impossible 4 and 5 excel with their stunt work. I think Mission Impossible 1 excels in its storytelling. Mission Impossible 6 just excels in all aspects there, and
it takes every element and excels.
Yeah, and just works so well. And then obviously the Halo leap is just like when I saw that for the first time, I was like blown away.
When I saw that, I don't know about you, George. I was like, why didn't I watch this in a cinema?
Yeah, I like everything. Oh my god, like the shake. I honestly, that scene, it's the shaky camera. It makes you feel like you are the third person there, and it's just so goddamn good. Tyler, what do you have to say about Fallout?
Yeah, this is probably going to go up on rewatch for me as well. I'm the same thing as Seth in terms of I'm never, like we know this for sure on the podcast, I'm not a big pure action film guy, but this is about as good as you can really get. For me, I've always found the romantic element weird in these movies because he obviously has his ex-wife who's like in hiding, and they broke up because he wants to protect her. So, but then like he has kind of like gets like horny for kind of all the new women that join every franchise installment. So it's like, it's weird because it's like, I get it. You can like have an ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, like be like, respectful to them and have a love for them in a different kind of way. But since the circumstances in this is like he clearly would like love to be with his ex-wife. Like he like in a perfect world, like they're together and like happy, but he's just doing it to protect her. So I always found, and like this one kind of brings her like back in a little bit to the fold. So I always found it kind of weird. Like I was like, it's just weird. Like with like Ilsa and like them kind of like, having a little will they, won't they, while also like his wife is like in hiding, but like coming back. And I was like, that's the only thing that like made it weird for me. But everything else I loved, like Henry Cavill, like incredible. I think it's funny when this was filmed, everyone's like, oh, why is Henry Cavill like having to ruin like some DC shoots because he has to have a mustache for a Mission Impossible movie? And then the movie came out and everyone's like, oh yeah, this deserved it.
Yeah, this is one of those where I'm so happy they stood their ground because Henry Cavill has never looked better in a movie than with his mustache.
Yeah, he rocks a good mustache.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think you could rock anything at this point, though.
Probably could. I saw a tweet that I completely agree with, and I think is hilarious. And it's like, if you look at Henry Cavill's filmography, he's in some of the shittiest movies, and then all of a sudden, one of the best movies of the 21st century, just because he fucking is. Like, he comes out of nowhere in this thing, and is the best part of this movie. It gets memed for the shirt pocket and gets memed for like everything else, but
that is quite weird though. I didn't notice that. It's quite odd.
Yeah,
him
loading his gun or his arms, coolest thing ever. Like I tweeted like that. No matter what Tom Cruise does, it will never be as cool as Henry Cavill just cocking his arms in the bathroom. It's so awesome, and I can't hype this movie up enough. Like I will talk about it in the best of light, no matter what. Everything about it to me is incredible. I don't know what takes it from 100 to a 96. It's just not 100 movie, but it's so fucking good, man. And
give it 100.
Give it the 100, coward.
I can't just give everything hundreds, but it's so fucking good. And it's the only one that I rewatched because honestly, I just needed to watch it again.
I might watch it again like this week, man.
The Halo jump is incredible. Tom Cruise did break his ankle in this one when he was jumping building to building. It wasn't the Halo jump, but I did look that up. just so good. I'll talk about it all day, but you guys went into it. It's as good as, I think it might be my highest rated pure action other than Seven Samurai. Because I guess I have them at the same exact score, but T2 is also a 96 out of 100. But I think I would prefer this to T2 as I would rewatch it a little bit more.
Doesn't the letterboxd average surprise you? 3.9? I thought it'd be in the fours for this one. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah. I swear on Letterboxd, all the best movies have a 3.9.
You know what, George?
I swear to God.
A good point. There's a lot of great films with a 3.9 and a 3.7. I think there's a lot.
It's a lot of 4 stars. It looks like, so that's kind of like, it's a whole lot of 4 stars. So I think the average consensus, I guess, is a 4-star. Like, it's doubled every other score. 120K 4 stars. So I don't know.
All right, well, general consensus, Fallout is the best of the Mission Impossible franchise. Before we wrap up our episode, let's just run through quickly what have we been watching this week. Seth, want to kick us off?
Yeah, I've watched a few things this week. I watched 3 Rob Schneider films. They were fucking, like, I can't tell you how bad they were. George, I watched Threads, which obviously it's the film that Marta said was darker than Come and See. And
yeah, I put that on my watch list.
No, George. So that's actually based it's literally where I live. It's filmed where I live, it's set where I live, and it was worse than Come and See. It made me feel.
Oh Jesus, that's the one about like the nuclear holocaust, right?
And it's because it's the reason why it's so scary is because it's not beyond the realms of probability. You know, it could happen in the near future, and it's horrible, but it's a fantastic film. I watched the Meyerowitz stories. Meyerowitz, yeah. That was really good. Really, really liked that. I think that was brilliant. Really surprised me as well because I usually go into Netflix originals with a little bit of less anticipation because it's a Netflix original, but that was really good. I watched a couple of Bergmans, which were great. I watched The Empty Man. Obviously, we'll go over that on our Patreon review, and I also watched You're Next, which George recommended. It was good. I gave it a 3.5. There was some cool kills. There was some really interesting shots. But it was horror comedy, George. I have to say, it was horror comedy.
I mean, I don't think it dips into the comedy as aggressively as, like, say, like a Ready or Not or like a Smile.
No.
I
think there's just like a few like the way the kind of villains act in it.
Yeah,
talky, I guess. But it was good. I had a good time with that. And then obviously the Mission Impossibles. I watched the Fallout and Rogue Nation and the fourth one last week as well.
Yeah.
I also watched Steven Spielberg's only ever horror film. Fucking terrible. Don't ever watch it. It's awful. I give it a 1 star. It's terrible.
What movie?
It's called Something Evil.
Oh,
Heard of it?
No,
it's his first ever horror film.
At first, I was like, I don't know if Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a horror movie, and don't disrespect that
Close
movie.
Encounters of the Third Kind is a good film. I really
that's like science fiction thriller. I was like, is that the horror movie?
So I would try to like take off loads of filmography, directors' filmographies, for videos and stuff. Like I watched a few Scorsese that I like earlier in his career, but it was 1972. I think it was a TV film, and he did a horror special, and it's really not good, like at all. It's not Steven Spielberg. It's bizarre. But yeah, that's kind of about it this week. Just a couple of things here and there.
All right, Tyler, what do we got?
Yeah, so last Sunday was my busy day for working, so that's why, I watched 4 comedies in one day. So anytime, if anyone follows me on Letterboxd, you just see me start logging a shit ton of comedies, it means I'm working on my computer, and I have movies on the side I'm just watching. So I watched Horrible Bosses 2, Click, Impractical Jokers the movie, and Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny, all back to back. Very funny movie. I watched it like when I was way too young, and then I was like, oh, I'll rewatch it. The cock push-up is just legendary.
I love that scene.
Yeah, it's so funny. One of the greatest athletic feats ever captured on film for sure. I watched the 2 Terminator movies because I just like finally needed to get to those, and it's just like stupid how much I love those movies. Like Terminator 2, like immediately became one of my all-time favorite movies. Like so good.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
Seth, if you fry this when you watch that movie for the ReelTok collection, I will never forgive you ever again.
That will probably. You said it was all out action. I just went on about Fallout, but still get a 4.5. It's probably gonna happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. But you were lower on low on the Terminator, Seth, and so was I. So it was a huge jump up.
What, on the first one?
Yeah.
So damn good.
I did the first one at 3.5. I think it was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it. But
I got to really look at like my like pure action movie ranking. Like I don't know how that would, because I think Fury Road is probably my number one, but I really don't know.
That'd be up there for me. But
Yeah,
I guess you would consider that pure action. Wouldn't you?
yeah, I would
probably
consider that pure action. Yeah,
that'd be up there for me as well. Actually, I will watch them soon though, because I do quite need to watch Terminator. To be fair.
Yeah.
Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 is just so damn good. I watched Eurovision Song Contest twice this week, just a comfort movie of mine. Been still crossing off the Love, Death, and Robots episodes.
Hell yeah.
How many episodes are there? Jesus, man.
There's probably like 50. I don't know. There's a lot of them.
There's a good chunk.
Let's see. Finish off Nolan's filmography with Following and Insomnia. I actually really liked Insomnia. I know a lot of people tend to have it lower in his rankings, but I really liked it. It's like it was more straightforward than most of his movies, but I mean it's Al Pacino and Robin Williams, so it's like no matter what script you give them, it's going to be a compelling movie.
Yeah. And he was like a porn, wasn't he? Because it's obviously an adapted thing from a different film, so it's like you can't really put his spin on it, I guess. But I liked Insomnia. I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, like because I looked up that afterwards, and it sounds like basically like he had no intention of making this movie, and it was like he's like early in his career in the studio, was like, hey, here's your script, you're making this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, then watched the Psycho reboot. Because I've watched all the Psychos now, because I watched Hitchcock, which is a movie with it's a movie about the making of Psycho. So I watched that. I watched all 4 original Psychos, watched the Psycho reboot with Vince Vaughn. I really like the remake, honestly. Like, obviously, it's nothing near the original. It's basically just a shot-for-shot remake. But, like, who's the guy that I really liked in it? Well, Vince Vaughn, he's no Anthony Perkins, but was really interesting, and I really like William H. Macy as the sheriff. Like because obviously I just really like William H. Macy. Yep. And then Danny Elfman like reworked the original score, and I thought that was really great. And then, is there
Viggo Mortensen in that one as well? Is that one?
Yeah, he's like the original guy who's like with Miss Crane or whatever is like her boyfriend or whatever. So yeah, really stacked cast, kind of crazy because Anne Hetchys, who plays the main woman. But yeah, and then The Tree of Life, like instantly, like just like blew me away. That movie's like.
Did you watch that this week? I didn't even see your review.
Yeah, I gave it a 9.8 out of 10. That's one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life, and like I couldn't stop thinking about it. Wow. I was just blown away by that movie. So, so good. And then
yeah, I can see why you definitely. I get it.
Yeah, and the only other thing, well, I guess watched The Empty Man. Then I watched The Hunt yesterday, which Cam gave a 3-star, which I just found not the Mads Mikkelsen one, The Hunt from 2020.
I got a bit worried.
It's a Blumhouse film.
I saw that log and I was like, "Yo,
would you give it?
You better relax."
I give it a 2. I think. Is that the 2021?
Yeah, you gave it a 2. Yeah, I gave it a 1 star. I found it completely insufferable. It's like every Blumhouse film for me. It's like a super intriguing concept with some like horrible acting and like really, really over the top, unintelligible social commentary. I think
I kind of like The Hunt.
Yeah, I know you did. You gave it a 3-star, but I just thought I don't know. Seth and I just watched The Most Dangerous Game last week, and like this is clearly a modern adaptation of it that injects like a ton of like social and political commentary that I just thought was really dumb, and I just didn't really like any of the acting in it. But they did the classic like. Speaking of Psycho, did the classic, like, let's have a bunch of big name actors in this that people know, and then just like kill them immediately. So that was kind of fun, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for it, but that's all I've been watching.
Cam, what are we watching?
Nothing this week. Fallout, Dead Reckoning. What else did I watch? Second movie we're reviewing today, The Empty Man, which sucks because that movie wasn't even scary. But then, like, I closed my eyes and I'm like, I'm gonna get killed by the Empty Man now. I watched The Death of Superman, just moving through. Good movie. Moving through the DCAU still, a little slower now. And then also turned on 65. It's not as bad as Tyler says, but it's not good.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Adam Driver carries that movie on his shoulders.
You gave it a 1.5 though, and a Cam 1.5 is like a Tyler 0.2 out of 10.
I don't know if that's true because I have 100 half stars.
Yeah,
so
but
I give low movies.
Half stars, you actually look for things.
Yeah, they're bad, man. Star. 1.5. It sucked, but it wasn't a half star, I guess. That's all I've been watching. I also am gonna go through Christopher Nolan's rankings, so I'm like halfway through Dunkirk right now, which I have seen. I saw it in theaters. I just never rated it. I think it'll be around like an 85. Around there is my guess based on what I remember, and then halfway through it, what I'm feeling so far.
I think I'm going to rewatch Dunkirk later. Actually,
what haven't you seen from Nolan still, Cam?
What's up?
What still have you not seen from Nolan?
So
Following and
is it
Insomnia?
Following and Insomnia are the only two I don't have rated, and then Dunkirk I also don't have rated. So I'll get those checked off this week.
It's weird that Following's in the Criterion Collection. That's why I went on a huge binge of looking at the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
I swear they just randomly pick movies to throw in there. There's no rhyme or reason for half the movies.
Well, it's whatever movies they get the right to put in their collect, because
You have to restore them. Yeah.
they have to get those. So maybe
okay,
I don't know. They probably shoot their shot with every movie.
Mm-hmm.
They specifically go for a lot of directors' avant-garde films, the early films, the art house films, the low budget stuff as well.
Yeah,
because it's easier to get out the rights off as well.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that was a criteria. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's Christopher Nolan's only Criterion movie.
Yeah, Triangle of Sadness is in the Criterion Collection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that cover bangs.
Yeah, it does bang. I've never even seen the movie, but it does bang.
Yeah.
I haven't watched The Chunk. I kind of also pulled a Tyler with the comedies: Hot Tub Time Machine, Neighbors, Horrible Bosses.
I still laugh. It's fine.
I continued my mutuals recommend movies. I was recommended The Covenant, not like the Guy Ritchie, Jake Gyllenhaal movie, the 2006, I guess, fantasy supernatural movie. Really bland, but kind of
recommended that. I've just
Kevin told me it was one of his guilty
childhood
pleasure
films, kind of thing.
Yeah. But whatever. I saw Gran Turismo. Couldn't post a review on it because the embargo doesn't lift till the first week of August, but better than I thought it would be. I guess I'll just.
Is that the one about the kid? It's in trailers about the kid who's
yeah,
and it becomes
yeah. Way better than I thought it would be. Biggest difference in first and second halves of a movie in terms of quality I've ever seen. First half was
the film. It is, isn't it?
Is what?
Is this the first Gran Turismo film?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, first half was not good. Second half kind of banged. Seth, I actually won't be mad at you if Terminator 2 isn't in the Criterion Collection because I fucked up The Father. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, but you give it a
ReelTok collection, not Criterion.
I mean, ReelTok collection.
The
better collection.
Yeah. You give it a 4.5. Okay.
Yeah, gave it 4.5. I really, really, really fucking liked it. But I think at the end, I don't know. It's weird.
Cry?
I did cry, yeah.
Okay, good. That's fine.
But it's weird. It's okay. So the reason I don't give it a 5 out of 5, even though I think it's a really perfect movie, is that I just have so much trouble relating to this. I've never experienced this in real life, which I find weird to say because I've never experienced Batman in real life, but I still give that movie a 5 out of 5.
Weird example.
But yeah. So I don't know. It just it kind of held me back, but no, all things considered, a fantastic fucking movie. I'm upset it took me this long to watch. I will also say, and I don't know if this is a hot take in the father movie community, I still think Riz Ahmed should have won the Oscar over Anthony Hopkins.
Really? I mean, I don't hate it. I think Riz Ahmed was.
I think Anthony Hopkins was stunning, and I think he was probably the second best that year. But I
also think Olivia Colman is probably just as good for me in the father.
Yeah, Olivia Colman is disgustingly good in this movie.
Exactly.
I don't get how people are this good at acting. But yeah, that's about it for me on the weekend. And then The Empty Man, which we'll talk about on Thursday, I believe. But yeah, that wraps up ReelTok episode 45. Thank you guys for sticking around for our Mission Impossible episode. Drop a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Let us know your Mission Impossible rankings. I'd love to see how you guys stack up with our ranking, of course. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Throw us a follow. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Music, on our Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place, and obviously your support means the world. Don't forget to check out our merch. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, the support on the merch has been unbelievably amazing so far.
Tag us in all your Barbenheimer wares.
Yeah, make sure this week on during Barbenheimer, I'm trying to see everyone pulling up with their Barbenheimer shirts. So tweet us, send us the pics, let us see your sick fit for Barbenheimer. I'm so excited for this double feature. It's what a time to be alive. But that wraps up episode 45 of the ReelTok Podcast. Thank you guys for sticking around, and we will see you in a few days. And lastly, shout out to our executive producers, Al Bodie, Alexander Kephart, Adam H16, Mac Wells, Remy Walker, Stefan Johnson, Seven Mod Jeffy, AJ Quigley, Alexander Biscardi, Ben Leggy, Ben Hansey, Brody Young, Callum Singh, Cody Whitney, Dakota Buckner, Dean Cuttamanidis, Dylan Chip, Isaiah Villa, Ferdinando Ford, Jimmy O'Connor, Jordan Gagg, Josh Hines, Luke Durhog, sorry if I mispronounced that, Marcellus, Nick Shirley, Relapse, Reese David, Rocco 1.0, Sean Morales, Tatum Bougie, Trey Arzi, Will Kim, Eunice BBX, and Zach Graves. Again, guys, thank you for stopping by, and we will see you for a real quick episode 71.